Welcome in to Check the Mic. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson, live on YouTube from the Antonio Cromartie studio in part with Huggies. All brought to you by FanDuel. It's time, Sam, for our Week 12 NFL review. We had, 3 overtime games yesterday? Wild Week 12.
Yeah, big game of NFL. I had a weird weekend where I think every single sports outcome that I was interested in went the other way. All of them lost.
Oh.
Ireland lost in the rugby. Liverpool got the crap kicked out of them in football. The guy I'm interested in winning the Grand Prix, the championship, went disqualified. Whole thing, disaster.
Awful
Start
weekend.
to finish.
You going to be miserable for 3 hours here?
Well, usually I follow enough sporting endeavors that there's a mix. Rarely does it all go one direction either way. All your teams win or all your teams crap out. This weekend, all of it came up snake eyes.
Get a miserable Sam this weekend.
Yeah.
But no, it's great football. I'm excited. Let's get right into it.
Let's go.
All right. It all started Thursday night. You and I were right
started
here in the studio, and we were going full watch along here. Buffalo Bills and Houston Texans. The Texans pulled the upset, 23-19 over the Bills. Texans get up over 500. What a fascinating group of AFC teams now after Sunday, all sitting at 6-5. 3 of the final 8 teams in the NFL over the last couple of years: Baltimore Ravens, Kansas City Chiefs, and the Texans. So the Texans get to 6-5. Bills fall to 7-4. Texans defense was the story of this game. What a performance by them.
Yeah, the combination of the Texans defense and then this misfiring Bills passing attack. James Cook was still really good. But the passing attack overall between Josh Allen taking a ton of sacks, playing not particularly well, and this lack of guys that can win on the outside, this collection of slot receivers only, absent one of their top slot receivers only in Dalton Kincaid, they just don't have the players that can go toe-to-toe and win on the outside. And so this whole passing attack was kind of bottled up in the middle. And now you've got 2 at least elite-level pass rushers coming at you, Will Anderson Jr. and Danielle Hunter, and they just swarmed them.
They did. Allen was sacked 8 times, and Bills still had an opportunity. It's one of those games where if you're the expected better team, which is the Bills coming into this game with a backup quarterback for the Texans, Bills were favored slightly, right, or by 5 or whatever it ended up being by game time, and you say, okay, you survived the pass rush, you survived this game, but there's still an opportunity to come back and win. Bills needed a touchdown to win the game. Josh Allen throws a game-ending interception on 4th down, his second interception of the game, and man, what a performance by the Texans in their pass rush. And I didn't think Davis Mills was great in this game. Made a few throws. He's made a couple key throws over these last few weeks, but I think he certainly survived. Woody Marks had a couple key runs here where he was keeping 4th downs alive and keeping drives alive for the Texans. Look, their offense has done just enough over these last few weeks. Beat the Titans last week, beat the Bills. But this defense is at that caliber of the Broncos or the Seahawks or whoever you want to say is the best defense in the league, where any given week they can win. And I think that's giving the Texans, look, if C.J. Stroud comes back and plays well, plays pretty good in this wide-open AFC, can't the Texans maybe go on a run if they sneak into the playoffs at this point?
Yeah. I think both playoff pictures are wide open. And maybe the NFC is starting to take shape a little bit more in terms of the teams at the very top actually look legitimately for real. We'll get onto the Rams at some point later on today. Those teams, the elite teams, look genuinely formidable and maybe at a different level to the teams that are a step down. The AFC, though, it's kind of chaotic where all the teams are there and maybe they're bringing different things to the table, but this is a classic. This is a potential playoff matchup, right? Buffalo has got the Josh Allen, an MVP caliber quarterback, a guy capable of being Superman, taking over and doing it all by himself. Meanwhile, Houston has got a defense that can go out there and not just go toe-to-toe, but neutralize a guy like that and actually make him into a weakness in the game and take over. And maybe they don't have the quarterback, that can do the reverse, but they don't need it. Because that defense is capable of carrying the team at that kind of level. The other thing in the game, Buffalo's offensive line started to get pretty banged up.
They did.
For the first time in a while. They've been a pretty continuously healthy offensive line for a long time, but they were very banged up. Spencer Brown, one of their better players, got banged up, left the game. Multiple, like Deion Dawkins left the game briefly, came back in. That offensive line was struggling in addition to, like, the players were just awesome on the Texans.
Spencer Brown looked like he was playing through injury, doing his best, but when you're trying to...
It looked like it was held together by duct tape.
Yes, he did. I mean, trying to block Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson, pretty difficult. Both guys dominated. Will Anderson with an official 2.5 or 3 sacks, whatever it ended up being. Hunter had a couple. And 8 total, as I said earlier, for the Houston Texans defense, which really stepped up, looked great. And now they get their mini bye to probably get C.J. Stroud back. Starting to get Jaden Higgins going a little bit, a couple near misses for him along the sideline, but he's getting open. I think this combination of Higgins and Nico Collins on the outside, a couple other receivers with Christian Kirk and Noel in there, and then getting Woody Marks going in the run game is going to give Houston some opportunities to make some noise. And look, we'll talk about the Colts next and what happened there with Kansas City. And the Texans are just in third in the South, but they're all playing each other.
Yeah.
Well, the Texans get to play the Colts twice. Colts have to play the Jags twice. Like, the South is still pretty open here. And even though the Colts looked dominant early in the season, I think they've shown some inconsistency and some weakness over these last couple weeks that Houston, in particular, should be able to take advantage of.
Yeah, I mean, things have opened up for the Texans. Like, they have a pathway right back into this. And as I said, the entire AFC playoff picture is kind of chaotic. Danielle Hunter, by the way, he should put his name to some kind of arm workout. You know, just endorse anything and people would buy it. That guy has the most insanely jacked arms in the entire NFL, regardless of position. That guy's arms look cartoonish, like superhero level.
That's
absurd.
what we tune in for. This is why I'm here on a Monday morning. Never know what you're going to bring to the table when we're breaking down a game. Never know.
Like, if he just branded
caught
himself,
your eye?
you know, here's an arm work, here's my daily arm workout, people would sign up.
For Buffalo, by the way, this happened Thursday night, obviously, but now the Patriots win yesterday. Buffalo's officially 2.5 games behind the New England Patriots. Patriots already beat them one time. They'll play again. But the AFC East looking bleak now for the Bills. In addition, over the last few weeks, we've seen them get run all over by Miami, lose to backup Davis Mills in Houston, all sandwiched in between beating the Kansas City Chiefs, or after beating the Kansas City Chiefs in probably their best game of the year. So lots of inconsistency in Buffalo. The weak run defense shows up one week. In this one, it's turnovers again with Allen and, you know, some just, you know, getting beat up on the offensive line, but also the turnovers. It's inconsistent month here from Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, what was that tweet that I'd sent you that in the same season they've beaten Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and Baker Mayfield, and lost to what, Tua, Davis Mills, and somebody else. Yeah, Michael Penix Jr. in the same season. It's a bizarre season for Buffalo right now, and the receiver thing I think is definitely coming back to bite. I mean, Brandon Beane was all butthurt about every question asked about that in the offseason. Khalil Shakir was the only receiver that was a consistent force in this game and is most years, I mean, or most weeks, he's a really good, effective player that they can give all those bubble screens to, that they can work over the middle. He was by far their leading receiver. After that, the next leading receiver was running back Ty Johnson, then tight end Jackson Hawes, who's basically the blocking tight end. Gabe Davis, the one true sort of outside vertical threat that they've got, 1 catch, 22 yards. Josh Palmer, again, never really fit that mold when they brought him in to potentially solve that problem. 2 catches, 21 yards. They don't have that guy. Like, they spent the Texans have good outside corners, so it's going to be a challenge. But you can't just seed the outside. Like, we're going to forget it. We're not even going to attack outside. It's all going to be funneled through the middle. You can't do that in the NFL, and the Bills have an offense built to do that.
They had a just miss on the comeback attempt to Gabe Davis, just landed out of bounds. But, yeah, in this game, middle of the field was going to be key. And, look, Houston, they did a great job, right? They're theoretically, you know, a little bit smaller up front, and Buffalo should have success running against them. James Cook had the early 45-yard touchdown, but they made a bunch of key plays, you know, getting off the field on 3rd and 4th and short and everything. So, man, can't say enough good things about the Texans defense. If you want a little bit, if you're a Texans fan, you're excited. We had an instant reaction. We had, for members only, we did have the live watch along, which was quite fun going through this game. We had a lot of we've had a few close games now for our live watch alongs. Always nice hanging out with the members doing that.
Yeah, and all that, by the way, the Bills receiver's problem in the context of Keon Coleman for the second straight week was a healthy scratch for, discipline, attitude, professionalism reasons. So, they're not just absent answers on the outside. They're intentionally sitting a potential answer, albeit not a good one, down.
It's more of an off-season discussion where we can rehash all of that, right? Where they traded out of the Xavier Worthy pick, Chiefs got Worthy, Bills traded down, got Keon Coleman. The other key receiver that was drafted right around that time was Ladd McConkey. We could go through all that in the offseason, but clearly Keon Coleman being a healthy scratch again at this point is, going to be a concern for Buffalo. I think there's a little bit of revisionist Buffalo roster history and everything. I still think they've got a good roster, man. They're in good shape. I think maybe you're missing that outside receiver, but they should be able to have success on both sides of the ball. But I think this defense, the last couple of years, they've given up a lot yardage-wise, but always come back with a key forced fumble, with a key interceptions. To me, it's just the turnovers, again, have just come back to bite Buffalo on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, but it's an answer to, like, Brandon Beane's entire offseason being asked about the wide receiver thing was getting extremely, narky to anybody who was bringing up the question, and then was sort of saying, look at our numbers, right? Look at our offensive production. We were one of the best offenses in the NFL with this supposed weakness on the outside. You're an idiot. We don't need a guy like that. Like, well, okay, now you do. Now look at your numbers. Now look at the lack of threat on the outside. You clearly need that player right now. What's the answer now? Like, that's the problem with that. Like, he basically refused to admit that it was a weakness of the team at all and did not address it. And now it quite clearly is a weakness of this team, and teams are finding ways of exploiting it. So, and the trade deadline is gone. Like, if you believe the rumors, they were interested in Jalen Waddle. They were trying to upgrade at wide receiver at the trade deadline and didn't manage to make anything happen. Well, now you're stuck with this roster, and teams are finding a way of pushing on that pressure point.
And they do feel specifically designed to
beat the Chiefs.
To beat the Chiefs, which opens you up against other teams. I will say the Texans, the Texans defense, the Broncos defense, there are certain defenses that have you waking up on a Monday morning questioning all of your offensive moves and decisions. So I don't want to overreact to that. It's not just a one-week thing here with Buffalo, but that's the type of defense Houston has right now.
Did you see friend of the show, Ariel Helwani, calling for heads to roll? It's time.
I did not. Really?
It's time for the coach to go. I don't know if he extended as far as the front office, but it's time for heads to roll.
It's an interesting dynamic, like when you have a Josh Allen and saying, okay, we've had all this success. You're more likely to get away with upsetting to change it up because you've got that foundation, right? The same thing we talked about with Baltimore earlier this year. Like, is John Harbaugh on the hot seat? Like, they're blowing big games and they're 1-5. Do you at least have that discussion because you have this foundation of the elite quarterback, and that maybe it is time to shake it up? We'll see what happens with Buffalo.
I mean, it would be a cruel irony if Buffalo, with this roster constructed to beat the Chiefs in the regular season. The Chiefs then don't even make the playoffs, and every other team is just not set up to do that. Like, you have an offense constructed to beat Kansas City, and Kansas City isn't in your pathway anymore. It's not constructed to beat anybody else.
All right, anything else on this one? Because we're talking Chiefs next.
Nope.
I think the Chiefs will be in the playoffs because it did look bleak for a minute, but they get the win in overtime. Kansas City 23, Indianapolis Colts 20. Chiefs get back over 500 to move to 6-5. Colts fall to 8-3. Colts got up early. Almost first pass from scrimmage from Patrick Mahomes, nearly a pick six, picked off by Latu. Beautiful play. Tips it up to himself for an interception inside the 5 for Kansas City. So the Colts score pretty early, get up 7-0. They were up 14-3. Kansas City's just kicking field goals. It's 14-9 at the half. And at one point gets to 20-9 Colts in the fourth quarter. And Kareem Hunt fumbles inside the 10. And if there was the lowest point for the Chiefs, I'm sure from a win probability standpoint and the whole deal, that was the point. But the Colts, this is the stat of the game for me here, Sam. 4 straight 3-and-outs, fourth quarter and overtime. They ran 12 plays. With a 20-9 lead, they went 3-and-out 4 straight times for a total of 18 yards.
Yeah, so that's
Spags
the other
defense
stat.
/ Colts offense, and that was pretty much it.
From the start of the fourth quarter onwards, so fourth quarter and overtime, the Chiefs had 236 yards of offense. The Colts had 18. The Chiefs had 13 first downs. The Colts had 0. And that's the game right there. The Colts had a lead. Now, you can look at there's a lot of, the stats are weird, right? Because part of the Colts' success is they had Latu Island set them up 5 yards out from the goal line or whatever. So they didn't have to go far to get some of the points. So I don't think it's quite as simple as saying, well, Kansas City had all the yards, the Colts hardly had any, therefore the score was just a figment of your imagination. Like, actually, this was a sneaky example of the Chiefs dominating this game start to finish, and the score was simply a mirage. I don't think that was accurate, but it is true to say that once the fourth quarter happened, the Colts, who had the game in hand in terms of the score, simply stopped having any offensive success whatsoever, and they couldn't stop Kansas City, who then took over with, in particular, Rashee Rice. They kept dropping coverage on Rashee Rice over the middle. You look at his target map on NGS or whatever, it's just all crossing routes over the middle and screwing up the defense. But that's like an amazing output once the fourth quarter hit. Kansas City, perfect success, moved the ball constantly. Colts, literally nothing at all.
Yeah, and so it was, I mean, just from a Colts offensive perspective, I think they did a nice job early on, right? They dialed up their usuals, a couple nice runs from Jonathan Taylor. They had the weekly tight end screen to Tyler Warren, had a couple open downfield passes. Daniel Jones had a beautiful touchdown pass to Ogletree in the back of the end zone. I thought that was a really nice, well-thrown ball. So they did their usual, man. They mixed it up. And then it just felt like when they needed to run the clock, they're a run-first team. They tried to run with Jonathan Taylor, and Spags was just saying, no, you're not going to run the clock out. We're just going to crowd the line of scrimmage and make Daniel Jones beat us. And I'm just saying, man, I know as comfortable as Daniel Jones looked early in the season, where things were cooking and he's feeling good and he's making a few nice plays under pressure and there's a lot of confidence there. I'm telling you, these last couple weeks, he's getting a little bit more fidgety. He had the 6 fumbles in 2 weeks. Then they had the bye. And then in this game, he was okay early on. They had the short field, right? They had some plays going their way. But when the game was on the line, the Colts offense overall, right? They had a drop in there from Michael Pittman that was huge on a first down. But, man, Jones, in those 4 3-and-outs, you mentioned the play last night. He just fires it into double coverage. It would have been a disastrous interception, and the Chiefs dropped it when they were up 3 or whatever it was, trying to run the clock. And, man, I've got reservations about Daniel Jones and the Colts. It was almost like everything that we said that was nice about the Colts earlier in the year, I would list, well, the offensive line's pretty good, and the playmakers, and you spread it around, and Jones is running the offense. But at the end of the day, on third downs and in key situations, I just don't know that I trust him right now. And I think you saw that yesterday. And by the way, Chris Jones, I don't know where his sack totals are this year, but Goncalves, the right guard, had some serious issues with Jones and others rushing. Chris Jones, even in the Denver game, still had like 2 or 3 of those instant wins that just destroy plays. Because when you win from there in like 1.5 seconds, you can't do anything. And if you do create a play, it's a minor miracle. He had some of those yesterday as well. So it's not just Daniel Jones, but I'm talking about this offense as a whole. When they needed to run the clock out, Colts fell apart, and then Spags and this defense did a great job to give the Chiefs offense a chance to come back.
Yeah, the Chiefs defense looks championship caliber again. Chris Jones, I think, is all the way back. He had a relatively slow start to the season where he wasn't dominating at quite the same level as he's been at the last few years, where he's been basically the best defensive tackle in the game since Aaron Donald retired. He's that again right now. This wasn't concerning from a Colts point of view because it was the game plan. Like Spags and the Chiefs defense decided, okay, Jonathan Taylor right now is on his way to an Offensive Player of the Year type of season. He's the driving force of this offense. He, in fact, is the MVP. We are going to shut him down come what may, and we're going to force Daniel Jones to make the plays that he needs to make in order to keep this thing moving and to stay ahead, and he couldn't. And, in fact, not only couldn't he, but he almost threw an interception that would have made the Chiefs' job of coming back even easier. And, if you look at his overall number, his average at the target was way down. He was trying to get rid of the ball quickly to get rid of that pressure. Like, this was a game where the whole point of this sort of balance and having competent quarterback play is, well, okay, if you find a team that's just going to say, we're going to take away Jonathan Taylor and gam up the running lanes and force you to do something else, the quarterback needs to be able to make the plays off the back end of that. And Daniel Jones, playing at his best, didn't play at his best in this game and couldn't, certainly late in the game. And that's the type of thing that's going to happen in the playoffs. That's why the Chiefs win those playoff games. That's why a team like Indianapolis, who even now is still 8-3 and, in good position for a playoff run, like, that's the difference between these championship caliber teams and teams that are maybe a little bit fool's gold, is when everything is on the line. Mahomes and the Chiefs are able to make those plays, 4th and 3 conversion or whatever. Meanwhile, Indianapolis and Daniel Jones couldn't make those plays.
A couple of key plays in this, this is one of those games, too, where for 3 quarters, you're like, man, the Colts are going to pull this off. Like, it's not all doom and gloom for the Colts. You could definitely spin it and say the Colts at 8-2, but still kind of trying to prove themselves and really convince people that they are legit. And I don't care what the Chiefs' record is at 5-5. You're still going into Arrowhead against Mahomes and Andy Reid, and they had this game in hand, right? So you could definitely spin it that way before they blew it at the end. But they had things going their way. There was an early touchdown taken off the board by a face mask. The Chiefs were pulling out all their gadgety red zone stuff with the the wing tee that they were running. They were having some success with it. The Colts defense made a bunch of big stops. But then you're going to come down to some game management decisions. Oh, and by the way, I mentioned the Kareem Hunt fumble. Like, it's 20-9, and Zaire Franklin forces that fumble. That was going to be the play.
At the end of like a big drive from Kansas City.
After a long drive, and it's like things are going the Colts' way, right? You made the stop. You've handled the counterpunch in Arrowhead against the Chiefs. But again, Spags' defense, and then it's like a quick 3-and-out, and the Chiefs have pretty good field position, and they come right back. But the Colts' defense made a bunch of stops. They were on the field for over 90 plays, including overtime. The Chiefs had a chance to have put a game-winning touchdown on the board.
Yeah.
At the end of regulation, they went 15 plays for 90 yards, and they forced a field goal, the Colts defense, and they got them to overtime. So, look, the Colts defense, I thought, stepped up and did a really good job. Now, they gave up some big plays. You mentioned Rashee Rice. They found him over the middle a bunch on those crossing routes, but I thought the Colts defense hung in there.
Well, that's the element that is true of the people that were like, actually, this was the Chiefs had this game in hand, start to finish, and the score was really a figment of your imagination. Kansas City had 33 first downs in this game. That's insane.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they just kept, like, the Colts did a great job in the red zone, forcing, 4 field goals total, including the game winner.
Field goals, like, all the weird things were happening. Basically, every time Kansas City got the ball, they had a long extended drive, which tended to end by a field goal or a turnover, and that was keeping the score where it was. But they had almost 500 yards of total offense. 33 first downs is insane. It's more than 3 times what the Colts had. Like, it was a game where it should have been closer than the score was.
5 field goals total, 4 in regulation. And then, to me, the decision of the game, and I don't feel strongly either way on this. I want to get your thoughts. It's 4th and 4. So the Colts are up 3, 4th and 4 on the Kansas City 45. So it's a 3-point game, and the Colts, they're in the middle of, they're in like the second or third, their third straight 3-and-out, basically.
Yeah.
And it's 4th and 4. It was 3rd down. They just picked up 6 to get to 4th and 4 over the middle of Michael Pittman. And they try to draw Kansas City off sides. They take the delay of game and they punt it from the 50. They put the Chiefs at the 10. And this is the one, look, it's not the same dominant, explosive Kansas City offense that it was a few years ago. That's just the fact.
But as we said, it has 33 first downs or
yeah,
whatever
but they were
at
still,
that point.
They had been moving the ball.
Yeah.
All they need is a field goal to tie, touchdown to win it. Colts have all their timeouts, and they had just forced a 3-and-out, by the way, as well. Like they had just given the Chiefs were just down 3, had an opportunity, and they went 3-and-out and lost for -1 yards. And but that's the decision. And I just tweeted it out like, hey, let's see what happens here. This is one of those like in Mahomes. I don't want to say in Mahomes' peak, like he's over the hill here, but in like peak Mahomes world, you would say, okay, like 4th and 4, like you just go for it. Right? You never give him the opportunity. But he's still great, and that offense is still potentially great. And the Chiefs go 90 yards, and they run out the rest of regulation too, by the way, to kick the game-tying field goal and then go to overtime. But that's the decision, right? It's like it's a 3-point game, and there's a lot of these around the NFL. We'll talk about Jags Cardinals in a little while. There's so many of these decisions right now. When you're up 3, it is a very tricky situation, I think, in today's NFL. Because if they go for this 4th and 4, I still think you need to I think you want to put a touchdown on the board to go up 2 scores.
Right.
If you're the Colts. But even if you kick a field goal, I think I'm more inclined to make a team go for a touchdown now than the field goal because of how easy it is to kick long field goals. But then you just have, I don't know, you've got like one play to keep this drive alive, but if you don't get it, you're giving the Chiefs this easy field goal opportunity. But the other side of that is it's 4th and 4 on the Kansas City 45. Let's say you don't get it. And everybody's like, oh, you should have punted, right? The Chiefs are probably going to only spend maybe 2 minutes to get into field goal range and to kick it. Now, maybe they score a touchdown and you have to drive and score a touchdown against Spags' defense. But you're at least going to get the ball back. But the Chiefs did the double whammy, whereas they drove 15 plays for 90 yards, took the rest of the clock. You never even got the ball back.
Worst case scenario.
Right? So you had an opportunity to either keep the ball, keep Mahomes off the field, or at least get the ball back, or assure yourself to get the ball back. And they punted, and I think that's gonna haunt them a little bit.
These are all getting interesting because I feel like the math has to be changing based off these new K-ball rules. To rehash these for everybody. In this offseason, the NFL made what feels like an inconsequential move, but appears to have had fairly seismic effects on the league, where they gave kickers multiple days in advance the K-balls for a game so that they can basically wear them in and scuff them up and do what they need to do to soften them up, kind of the way that quarterbacks have had for years. They decided to basically extend the same courtesy to kickers. Because, normally, remember back before this year, you would always see the kicker gets hold of the ball, he's about to kick off, and you see the guy like kneeling on it, trying to like squish the thing, trying to get some of the rock hard brand newness out of the football. That's all pre-done now. And consequently, that appears to have had the effect of kicks are now possible from the moon. Like Cam Little's out here regularly taking a shot from 70. Like the distance that you can attempt a field goal from now is massively further than it used to be. We've already seen is it tie or new record totally? I forget. Have we got a new field goal record? It's new right now. 67?
68.
68.
Or was it 67?
Whatever. We've got a new field goal record. The limit to that is even further. We saw it in preseason. The limit is at least 70 and maybe beyond. This means that you don't need to move far at all at the end of a game to get into at least an attempt range. But that has all kinds of further ramifications, as you're talking about. Well, if it takes you 30 seconds to move the ball like 15 yards and have a shot, well, then you might get the ball back again. Like all the math is changing.
And then you've got a shot.
Yeah. So all of these calculations for do you go, no go, end of the game, what does the model say? The old model, I think, is almost irrelevant now. It's a new model, but we don't have enough data for the new model to be sound. So we're in this complicated world that everyone hates, but is the only time where you actually steal any kind of advantage over anybody, which is there's some new state of truth in the NFL right now because of all this new variables with field goals, but there's not enough math for it to be sound at the moment. So everyone is going to have these different competing models. What does the analytics say, as Troy and Joe would say? Well, it doesn't matter because they're all different now.
Now you got to factor in the just extra 6 or 7 yards in each field goal kicker.
But I don't know. So the range has absolutely increased, maybe like to a massive degree. But I don't know if the chances of making that kick are actually any better. So what does that do to your like? How much should you actually be inviting them to go and take your shot at a 70-yard field goal, because we don't think you have any chance of making that kick, even though you can attempt it. Like there's this weird world now where it's all chaos at the end of the game, because everyone, I think, is now working from completely different models that say, go, don't go, whatever. At least previously, Troy and Joe didn't understand it, but all the models said pretty much the same thing. Now I suspect you get a different answer to these questions team by team.
But I also think we've talked a lot about the idea of you're up 3. Do you want to go up 6 with a field goal, or do you want to just continue to go for it on 4th down? And make sure we don't forget that in the Jags-Cardinals game, because that spurred a whole bunch of the decision-making there. But that's the one with the Colts where I wonder in this situation if you'd rather keep the ball. Who cares if you go up 6, because Butker's range is going to be 60-plus anyway. And you'd rather go – I wonder if you actually do want to let a team or try to drive for the touchdown versus the field goal now, just because the field goal's easier. Look at the Lions kicking the – I mean, that's what the Giants did in their game too. That was the decision. The Giants went for it, and everybody's like, why did they kick the field goal to go up 6? Because historically you don't want to go up 6. But the Lions kicked a 59-yard field goal at the end of regulation like it was nothing to go to overtime. And so and you're also in the – we'll talk about in the Giants game, but like in that game, you're one play away from the win. Right? And most of the time, the data is going to say choose the one play, especially if you're the underdog, right? Survive one play instead of, in the Giants case, survive a bunch of plays. And look, the Colts are still the underdog. So survive the one play. Like, just make this 1 4th and 4, even though your offense isn't doing anything.
I mean, I do think that part is still true. You know, with the adage of, like, if Mahomes is on the other side, I don't want to give him the football. If I can avoid giving him the football for 4th and 4, I want to take that opportunity, even though my offense has not been doing anything for the last 3 straight drives.
And it doesn't matter that he's failed against Denver or against Buffalo in those comeback attempts. Historically, you know, it's like Mahomes and Brady in Montana. Like, those are the best guys.
And look what he's doing
situations.
in this game. He's already converted. You know, like, things are looking good for Mahomes in this game. I don't want to give him the football with a chance to win the game. The NGS had an interesting stat in this game. The Colts played man coverage on 40.8% of their coverage snaps against the Chiefs. Their second straight game calling man coverage on at least 40% of their coverage snaps. That obviously coincides with the acquisition of Sauce Gardner at the trade deadline, and Charvarius Ward coming back from his concussion. So your top 2 corners essentially are back in the game, and the Colts have pivoted massively to more man coverage. The problem with that, as the Chiefs were able to uncover, is somewhere there's a corner covering that isn't Charvarius Ward and or Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
And if we can get Rashee Rice running across the middle against that guy, that's where we have joy.
Huge win for the Chiefs, who are now still the 10 seed in the AFC at 6-5, tied with the Steelers, who are out of the playoff picture, and the Texans, all at 6-5. But the Chiefs they play the Texans. They have 2 expected wins against the Titans and the Raiders. The playoff leverage for this game, as we said coming in, was about a 40% difference, which doesn't even capture it. Like 70% chance of making the playoffs with the win, 30% with the loss. And I think if you're a Chiefs fan, you're going to look back and say, it looked bleak with the Kareem Hunt fumble, but Spags' defense made a huge I called it a throwback win. Throwback Chiefs win last night. You've got Spags' defense making key stops. You have Mahomes making key plays on 3rd and 4th down to keep drives alive. In the 4th quarter magic to be able to win this game. So throwback Chiefs win in their first 1-score win of the season.
The playoff picture in both conferences could be really exciting down the stretch. I mean, I think both conferences are, the AFC is 10 teams deep in terms of teams that are in the hunt, right? And obviously only 7 playoff spots. So we're going to have 3 decent teams, or 3 teams with impressive looking records on the outside looking in. And then the NFC is maybe 9 teams deep, but you've also got the weird NFC South, maybe like Atlanta's at 4-7 and are not completely out of the running at all for that division because of the way the division is. So, I mean, the Lions are 7-4 and on the outside at the moment. Like, both playoff runs down the stretch are going to be really fun if these teams keep winning.
All right, man, we got a million games to go through. Anything else?
Nope.
On this one. Let's go Seattle Seahawks 30, Tennessee Titans 24. Seahawks got up. I don't know if this is fully indicative of the scoreboard. Some late touchdowns by Tennessee, but I love the way they fought. It was 23-3 and then 30-10 at one point. Titans tacked on a couple late touchdowns in there. But they did a nice job fighting. And from a Tennessee perspective, I thought maybe the best game again from Cam Ward. I think he's stacking good games against good defenses, against Houston last week and against Seattle this week. I mentioned, just talking about Houston earlier, they're the type of defense that has you questioning all your offensive decisions the next morning. We didn't have that necessarily from Cam Ward and the Titans last week. So I think there's something to build on there. And then I want to have the JSN appreciation hour and go through everything that he's done. 8 catches for 167 and 2 touchdowns. He had 167 of the 244 passing yards from Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I kind of stopped paying attention to this game once it seemed fairly clear that Seattle, because early Tennessee, I think, took the lead, right? Weren't they the first team to score? They were up 3-0.
Yeah, I think they're up 3-0 every week.
It took a little while for the Seahawks to sort of to get back and establish some dominance, but then by halftime, they were like, 16-3 up. And it's like, all right, they're rolling now. Because my real interest in this game was that despite it being a 12.5-point line, I still picked the Seahawks to cover. And in fact, it was my lock of the week. So once it became clear that actually they've now taken the lead again, they're establishing dominance and they're going away. Kind of stopped paying attention to the game and then looked up at the end. It's like, what? It was a 1-score game. What the hell?
What was my lock? There's no way.
Your lock was one of the game. It was one of the late games, so I didn't know what yours was. By the time I was done paying attention to the lock of the week, yours was still up in the air, and I never circled back to see if it was good or not.
Chances are it lost.
But so I was annoyed to find out that Tennessee had actually ended up scoring late and come back and made it closer than it was. But yeah, like Cam Ward talked after the game about how the old cliche, right? The game is slowing down for him, and you can see it. He's starting to be more comfortable. He's no longer just trying to survive and stay above water. He's actually making some instinctive plays. You're seeing a bit more of the college version of Cam Ward, of the ad-libbing, the scrambling, the scramble to make a throw, just all the natural playmaking that like he was so just scrambling to survive, and I was mentally scrambling to survive up until now, that you hadn't seen any of the sort of instinctive playmaking ability come out. Now, I mean, it's still not, great, but you're seeing that week on week, you're getting a little bit more of natural playmaking ability from Cam Ward. And remember, like, he still has no receivers to work with. Like, this is still a bad situation. And against this defense in particular, yeah, definitely encouraging.
That's what I'm saying. So Cam Ward's stat line, 28 of 42 for 256 and a late touchdown. But you're throwing to James Prochet, Chimera Dike, Gunnar Helm, Chika Okonkwo. They did activate Xavier Restrepo, and he had 2 catches for 26 yards, both for first downs. Maybe that'll unlock him, by the way. Undrafted free agent Restrepo.
I mean, again, it's like, well, it can't hurt.
Yeah, but at a high level, watching Cam Ward, watching him be a little bit more comfortable against good defenses with a less than supporting cast in a game where there's no run game, and Cam Ward's the leading rusher in this game. I'm impressed with Cam Ward these last couple weeks. I think earlier in the year, it's like, here's a throw, here's another throw, but too many negative plays, sacks, inconsistency. I think he's stacking up good weeks, and I think that'd be encouraging, or should be encouraging for Tennessee. It has coincided with Cam Ward using his legs. Once again, they had a design run where he goes over the top for a touchdown and another really nice scramble. So he had 37 yards on 6 carries. And normally with the young quarterbacks, I am against, use his legs. I'd rather you sit there and develop as a passer knowing that you can use your legs when needed. But I feel like Cam Ward needed this. I feel like he was almost too hesitant early in the year. So I kept harping on it. And I don't want him to run 15 times a game to finish the season. I still want him to develop as a passer. Yeah, but you can see him using even just his scramble ability, right? Yeah. Even just what he does outside the pocket, I think has been cleaner in recent weeks here.
There's a tricky balance to be struck between, using an athletic quarterback's ability to run and leaning too heavily on that and getting him killed, right? But the reason, those athletic quarterbacks are it buys you time and it buys you extra downs. Like, it extends drives. And that's the thing. If you're not good enough as a passer yet, or the situation around you is bad enough that the offense is just inefficient, you lose out on all these reps. Like, every now and again, if Cam Ward can just scramble, buy himself a little bit of time and find a pass that wasn't there as the play developed, this is a good thing, as long as he's not doing it so much that he's, developing bad habits or putting himself at risk. I think the balance is tipping more in the right direction now. Yeah, I don't want him scrambling constantly, nothing but scrambling, but if he can scramble just a little bit more than he was earlier in the season, he can extend some drives and things can continue to move in the right direction.
Now, for Seattle, I want to talk JSN a little bit. Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Yeah.
167 yards on 8 catches, 63-yard touchdown in there. I was a big JSN fan coming out, huge fan. But as I tweeted yesterday, I had no idea. Even the biggest JSN fan probably had no idea that he would be, Tyreek Hill.
Well, he's done the Justin Jefferson thing. It's like you've got this slot player at the college level, and it's like, oh, can he play outside, blah, blah, blah. And that was the sort of big question coming out. Well, not only is he now, can he play outside? I mean, he's just dominating in every facet of the game, and he's currently on pace for that 2,000-yard season that is kind of amazing that nobody's actually achieved it yet from a receiving standpoint, but everyone threatens it every now and again. He's on pace for it as things stand.
In a low-volume passing attack.
Yeah.
Right? This is Sam Darnold threw the ball 26 times yesterday. That's what's amazing. 167 yards of the 244. A 63-yarder, had another bomb, had an easy touchdown. He's making everything look easy.
Well, he's doing that college thing that you don't really see at the NFL level, which is you're accounting for like 60% of your team's passing offense at all times. That happens in college. Like Trey McBride was basically the only receiver in his college offense, and despite that, was still able to do that week on week on week. If generally in the NFL, when you have an offense that's so predicated on one individual player, teams are able to take those guys away, and you can't have sustained success that way. Somehow the Seahawks are making it work with JSN, where 244 passing yards, 167 of which went towards JSN. And for the last couple of weeks, like every week, he's now setting some new record. And some of them fall under the category of the records that don't really impress me generally. Like the one he had for the last couple of weeks was like, oh, he's the first receiver in NFL history to have had 75 receiving yards in like 10 straight games or something.
Now it's 11.
Yeah. And it's like, generally I'm not impressed by records where if you stack a sequence of relatively unimpressive things together, at some point you decide they become impressive just because nobody's ever done it before.
Mike Evans?
Like the Mike Evans record. It's like 1,000 yards in a season is not that impressive. So how many of them do you need to put together before you're like, now it's impressive? It wasn't impressive in any individual season, but now it's impressive.
All right, Mr. Unimpressed.
So 75 receiving yards in an individual game is not particularly impressive. But, you stack them together, and it's like, well, now nobody's ever done it before, so it's impressive. However, he now has the single season receiving record for the Seattle Seahawks franchise, which includes a Hall of Fame receiver, like the entirety of a Hall of Fame receiver's career, after 11 games. That's impressive.
Steve Largent.
Yes.
By the way.
Who, by the way, they showed the list of that. And Steve Largent is like 5 of the top 10 of those. Like DK Metcalf has 1 year in there. Corin Robinson, as a little bit of a callback, has 1 year in there of 1,200 plus yards. I forget who the other people were. And then like 5 seasons from Steve Largent. And now JSN through 11 games is ahead of all of those guys. That's impressive.
Can I impress you with a JSN number?
Yes.
Which you did see last night. But old friend Scott Barrett, former colleague when we worked at PFF, has a great stat because it sums up JSN's efficiency in a low-volume passing attack. Top YPTPA, you can acronym anything these days.
Yeah.
Receiving yards per team pass attempt. So yards per the team's pass attempt, right?
Uh-huh.
In NFL history, we have the great Jim Benton in 1945. 5.36 yards per team's pass attempt. Harlan Hill, 1956. JSN, 2025. At 4.49 yards per team pass attempt.
Don't you dare leave off Max Speedy.
I'm not done yet. Elroy Hirsch,
Crazy
1945. Lance Allworth, 1965, the most modern era player in this top 6.
Yeah.
And then he had to go to a top 6 because who could forget, as Scott reminds me, who could forget Max Speedy from 1947 averaging 3.87 yards per team pass attempt? Incredible group. JSN is having 1940s to 60s level efficiency here in 2025.
That's a great way of describing it, I think. Like, this is, I don't really remember anybody ever using this as a data point ever. However, I think it perfectly sums up what's happening with JSN, which is, okay, obviously he's extremely productive. Like, he's on pace for 2,000 yards. He's just set the Seahawks single season franchise receiving record after 11 games. Like, these are all obvious data points. What isn't as obvious is he's doing that with a 1940s to 50s dynamic of like the sole threat in that offense. That's what's weird about this is the other guys on this list are either Hall of Famers or you've never heard of them before, right? Like Crazy Legs, Lance Allworth, these are guys you've heard of. These are, all-time greats. And then you've got a bunch of people from the 40s and the 50s just because the game was weird then and you put up bizarre numbers like that. That's what's strange about this JSN thing is obviously he's dominant, obviously he's great. What is unusual is he's the sole source of passing offense.
It's incredible. I mean, that's why you don't see this data point because we're all watching JSN being like, he has 167 out of 244. Like, it's all
every week.
He has 150 out of 220. And then you're like, we got to dig up some kind of efficiency number beyond yards per route run, and that's what Scott did there. And I think it does sum it up extremely well. So I just wanted a quick JSN appreciation hour. I also got sent, I think BetMGM had a tweet out there showing JSN and his efficiency compared to Calvin Johnson in the 2012 season, and it's on pace.
JSN, the
17-game schedule though.
Yeah, the league's leading. Oh, by the way, everyone on that list that he's already exceeded was 16 games or fewer. Like even DK Metcalf's year did it in 16 games. You know what I mean? Like
oh yeah.
So Darnold, JSN, the league's leading receiver and on pace for 2,000 yards, et cetera, et cetera. Darnold's only 6th in passing yards in the NFL. Like this is, as you said, it's a relatively low volume passing attack where he's setting an all-time record season. It's just weird.
And just to finish up the JSN discussion, he's not a 4.3 guy, right? He's not fast, which is why I said I'm a big fan of his. I thought he could win on the outside. I thought he'd be a very good slot receiver and he just had a really good feel for the position and just was very smooth, just getting open and running around the field and just precision wide receiver. But now he is playing like Tyreek Hill without the actual speed, right? He is getting open deep, separating late. Darnold's thrown some absolute dimes to him this year too, like downfield handoffs. But it is incredible how easy JSN's making it look down the field this year. And it hasn't slowed down. It really hasn't.
No.
So it's very impressive what he's doing. Just want to make sure he got proper shout-outs this morning.
Not a particularly fast 40 time, but an all-time freaky 3-cone time, remember? Like he had this 6.5 something 3-cone, which was like otherworldly insane.
All right, man, let's go. Detroit Lions, another overtime game here. They get the win 34-27 over the New York Giants. I know we're raving about JSN, and maybe he's having the best wide receiver season.
But he's no Wan'Dale Robinson.
No, he's no Jameis Winston.
Ah.
Jameis Winston had the most impressive wide receiver play I saw all weekend, and we'll talk about that in a second here. Giants got up early, man, with their trickeration, with their trick plays. We're up 7-0, 10-0, 17-7. Detroit kept coming back into it, and it was 27-17 into the fourth quarter. I mean, Detroit let the underdogs hang around for quite a while, but Jahmyr Gibbs ultimately takes over a 49-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter, and then they get to overtime, 69-yard touchdown. Not to seal it, but to just make the Giants have to score a touchdown to at least tie it, and the Lions defense makes the stop. So Lions survive to move to 7-4, and the Giants fall to 2-10, and they are officially eliminated from playoff contention.
The first team, apparently, for that to be the case. It's weird. Like
we killed all these other teams.
They're 2-10. They're officially dead on the season, and yet the vibes have never been stronger for the Giants. They've already fired their head coach, and yet the vibes could not be further through the roof. Like how much just being liberated from the walking bummer that is Russell Wilson. As soon as the Giants went to Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterboo, and the better angel / devil on Jackson Dart's shoulder, Jameis Winston, the vibes for the Giants have just been through the roof. They beat Philadelphia and look dominant doing it. They almost knock over Denver. They almost knock over Detroit now. Like they're leading the league in moral victories with these late game collapses, and yet it's just such a bizarre situation. They should have won this game and somehow found a way of not doing it.
So the game starts with, Wan'Dale Robinson, who, by the way, seemingly is unlocked by everybody but Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart's been great, but Wan'Dale's having these huge games with Russell Wilson and now Jameis.
And another guy who's like supposedly a small slot-only receiver and yet has turned into this dynamic, deep vertical weapon as well.
So you have the throwback. So they have Jameis throwback 40-yarder to Wan'Dale Robinson to kick off the scoring. So they got that beautiful trick play.
And that was one where, Wan'Dale was wide the hell open in the secondary. Nobody was covering him. But as soon as Jameis got the ball, he had to avoid an unblocked defensive lineman about to murder him. That wasn't like the classic throwback play where the quarterback's got all day to then step into the throw. Like Jameis had to take avoidant action the second that ball arrived in his hands to even get the ball out.
I don't care, man. Jameis is amazing. Some of the plays he made in this game, I want to get to them, but just game flow wise, they had that play. They had another 40-yarder to Wan'Dale Robinson. Like they were up 10-0 pretty quickly. Jameis hits Isaiah Hodgins for a 12-yard touchdown in the back of the end zone on 3rd and 8. Like the number of third and 8 conversions.
Yeah.
And Isaiah Hodgins has had some good stretches of NFL play, but the same thing I said about Cam Ward. Like your Jameis Winston's doing this with Wan'Dale Robinson and Theo Johnson and Isaiah Hodgins, and Jameis is averaging 33 yards per catch because when Gunnar Olszewski threw the ball back to Jameis, he had to adjust back to the ball, catch it, juke the defender, and then gets into the end zone for a 33-yard touchdown. Like once that happened, it's like, man, the Giants are pulling this off. They are going to pull off the upset in the Dome against the Lions. This could be disastrous for the Lions.
Yeah.
And then just while we're talking Jameis, a wild 3rd and 10 conversion to Isaiah Hodgins. I just put wild in my notes. And then even more wild 3rd and 17 conversion. Giants look like they're going to win, right? He breaks free from a sack. It scrambles out and converts a 3rd and 17. The number of key plays that Jameis Winston made to keep things alive for the Giants was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I mean, this was the peak Jameis game that we've been waiting for. Like his performances recently, we were due this, right? Like Jacoby Brissett had the Jameis game that we were waiting for, and Jameis had a relatively normal game a week ago. Like this is what Jameis football is supposed to look like every single week: absolute madness, trick plays, chaos, some good and some bad in there as well. Like just enough bad to end up losing the game. Like that's the annoying part about this. This was amazing. Some of the high-end plays were spectacular. Obviously, they're a big underdog. They're not supposed to win this game. And Jameis has got them in it. And then, like, the interception under pressure wasn't good. Like, a sack right at the end. It's like, just the negative. Why can't we just have a perfectly – there's never a Jameis game where there's no negative, where we just eliminate the really bad play completely. Why? One of those games.
Great interception by Thomas Harper. Probably not a great decision by Jameis Winston. And then Detroit, I mentioned Jahmyr Gibbs, right? I mean, the Giants defense did okay against the passing attack, but it was Gibbs in the run game, 15 carries for 219, including those long touchdowns. I know people in the chat were voting for the worst run defense to go to the New York Giants before this game, and wow, the Lions just only 5 carries for David Montgomery, but as it combined with Gibbs, 20 for 237 in the 2 touchdowns. So Gibbs goes for 49 for was it for a touchdown? He had like 240-something yarders and then the 69-yarder.
Yeah.
Is that right? Look, as soon as he got to the second level, Giants safeties had no chance against Gibbs, and he is amazing in the open field.
Yeah, he's so good. The 49-yard touchdown was just ridiculous. Like the speed, the cuts, like he rode contact as well, like sort of ran through one guy and then stiff-armed the next guy, and then he's just gone. Like his acceleration and explosiveness and burst is absolutely otherworldly. And if the Lions had a couple of well-blocked plays, and as soon as you give him a well-blocked look, he's just gone. You just cannot stop that guy. He was absolutely incredible in this game. And he's the Lions don't win this game without him.
I think it was Daniel Jeremiah showed the end zone view of Penei Sewell celebrating. So Penei Sewell makes a huge second-level block on one of the runs. Was it the overtime one? On one of the long runs. He makes his second-level block, and Gibbs had just passed him, and then Sewell's going like this. He's got his arms up like, we know he's taking it to the house. And Daniel Jeremiah put out a pretty nice screenshot of that. And that was the story, man. Gibbs made those huge runs. And I say this all the time when it comes to running back value and everything. If you could take it to the house from anywhere and create those big plays, even when this was Saquon last year, you're not only just flipping the field, but that is incredible value of being able to create touchdowns out of nowhere, because the Lions they were inconsistent offensively, Sam, right? They were, every time you thought, okay, where's the rhythm from Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown? Like St. Brown was great in this game. I think was it off his hands? Yep. One interception.
Interception.
Other than that, he was great.
Yeah.
And that was another one, right? It's a 3-point game. It's in the red zone. Like the Lions, this felt like the game that was going to be disastrous for Lions fans because of that interception, because of Jameis breaking free on 3rd and 17, because of all these plays that were stacking up against Detroit. But Jahmyr Gibbs saved them. He saved them with his explosive plays.
Gibbs saved them, and then late in the game, their defense made just enough plays to hang in and make the difference. Like they had a pass breakup in the end zone on 4th and goal, where the Giants go for it. The 4th and 5 sack, like 4th downs, basically. 4th and 5 sack was Hutchinson in overtime, where Aiden Hutchinson just decides, right, I'm going to go and destroy. So the right side of the Giants' offensive line just collapsed on that play. Hutchinson goes right around Illuminor, and then Alim McNeil with a massive assist, like just bull rushes the right guard right back into Jameis to get him moving in the first place and let Hutchinson clean it up. Those two guys dominate on that play and on 4th down, and that's literally the difference in the game.
And so I want to go back to that 4th down you were talking about. Where was it? The Giants go for it on 4th and 6, 4th and goal from the Detroit 6. They're up 3, and so we get back to this up 3 decision here, right? You can kick the field goal to go up 6 and make the Lions drive the entire field, or you can go for it. If you get it, the game's over. I mean, if you get this 1 4th and goal from the 6, the game is over. And if you don't get it, the Lions have to drive from the 6, presumably unless there's a sack, but from the 6, and all they need is a field goal. And by the way, they had 3rd and goal from the 2 and lost 4 yards on the previous play, which is interesting because I always think coaches, if you lose yardage on the 3rd down call, are less likely to go for it on 4th. And
right.
Mike Kafka, interim head coach, decides we're going to go for it. So it's 4th and goal from the 6. You get the pass breakup, as you mentioned, from Rock Ya-Sin. Detroit kind of dinks and dunks down the field, and not really though, right? It's like not that great of a drive. And then 4th and 10 from the 41. I mean, they have to kick a 59-yard field goal, but this is the one where I wonder how much the math has changed, because that field goal for 59 yards, it's like, 59-yarder in the dome, easy. It was a 13-play, 53-yard drive. It's not great, but it still was enough to kick a field goal to go to overtime. And once you get to overtime, one of the things I want to look up, I want to know how many underdogs have won overtime games historically. It feels like the favorite wins in overtime 90% of the time, doesn't it?
Right.
Like once you get there, and the better team usually wins.
I also feel like the reset, so, the end of the game, the crunch, the time crunch that it puts teams under, it starts this sort of aggressive mentality of, we're going to change the way we do things. We're going to go for it on 4th down. We're going to do some things weird. And then I feel like the reset that is overtime, everyone takes a breath and goes back to, okay, now we can just be methodical again. I think that harms the teams that started to be more aggressive because they're the underdog, because the game's on the line and it's late, and they're like, what the hell, let's go for it on 4th down. And then you get to overtime, and it's like, now we go back to being just methodical, slow, conservative, and that helps the team that's just good.
Yeah, and of course, the Lions are better, and they just go, first play, 69-yarder to Jahmyr Gibbs. But that was another one of those up 3, do I go for it? But, like, if you're the underdog Giants, I don't hate it, man. I don't hate it, right? It's like, if you go for it, you're one play away from going up 2 scores and winning it. The downside, though, is the field goal's easier.
Right.
And even though it's a longer drive, in the, like, you know what I mean? Like, the Giants' defense, 13 plays for 53 yards is a decent job by the Giants' defense. That's a decent job, but it still sets up a game-tying field goal at the end of regulation. And then, the Lions get the 69-yard touchdown in overtime, and the rest is history.
You hear all the time about, the analytics don't account for, they do, individual games. This is a game where if you're going to adjust something, these two teams combined for over 1,000 yards of offense. So whatever your model is normally saying about the outcome in terms of how likely is a team to then drive the length of the field and score, you're presumably making that more likely in a game like this where both offenses are just moving the ball at will. Like, that is making you more likely to go for the 4th down because, number one, you're more likely to convert, and number two, they're more likely to execute a drive after that because neither defense is stopping anybody.
Yeah, the model does account for all those. Like, everything that I'm talking through right now, what happens if you get it? What if you don't get it? Where's the field position? How's your defense play? Or, what's the quality of your defense? What's the quality of the offense? The model does account for all of that. Now, look, everybody's math is going to be different and all the models are going to be different. That's true, but they're doing the models are doing the work ahead of time, right? So this is why all of these decisions should essentially be pre-prepared because they are accounting for most things. And if you want to tweak it a little bit, you say, okay, yeah, we're not stopping them, even though I think the Giants, it's going to sound weird, like the Giants defense did a good job against the passing attack, I would say. And this would be it's like a passing situation for the Lions. The Giants defense were awful in the run game and stopping Gibbs. And so, I don't know, man. I don't hate the decision, but I get it. Like, I'm almost inclined, like, do you just go up 6 at this point because the field goals are so much easier? I wonder how much that is changing the math. But I think Gibbs, I don't want to say it saves the Lions season, but to a point, it kind of did.
Yeah,
they're 19 yards on 15 carries.
Yeah, again, a little bit like the Chiefs. I wouldn't have been too concerned if they lost this game. Like the fact that they had lost to the Giants would have been a bigger concern to me than the overall sort of status of where their season lay, even if they'd lost this game. But even with the win, they're not in the playoff picture yet. Like, they're the 8th seed in a 7-seed race. So it was a big win for them. They needed to keep this going.
I know the people are unhappy with Giants defensive coordinator Shane Bowen.
Yeah.
And the Giants defense generally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the run defense was very bad. We'll see what happens with the new coaching regime this offseason and how they can get the most out of that defensive line.
Yeah, the defensive line made an impact in this game in terms of pass rush. Like, they were getting after Jared Goff. They were putting him under some pressure. But that defense, in terms of the run game, was... look, Jahmyr Gibbs is amazing, and he made a lot happen by himself, but there was also some very well-blocked plays there where the Giants were getting wrecked no matter who the running back was.
My issue, I think, with the Giants' defensive line, and where I may have overrated them a little bit, is they were top-heavy. So I love their top 5 players. Dexter Lawrence maybe not having the best season or like his best season, but with other defensive lines, we rave about them when they're 8 or 9 deep, or at least I do. And in the Giants, maybe they're 4 deep, 5 deep, but they don't necessarily have that depth, and that ends up coming back to bite more often than not. Mm-hmm. All right, we got a lot of games to get through, but quick break to talk about today's sponsor, IM8. It's hard to keep up with every NFL game. We do our best. We lose track of sleep. We go live at 7 a.m. like today on a Monday. It's hard to keep those energy levels up, but that's where IM8's daily ultimate essentials come in. It's a daily all-in-one wellness drink that gives my body the support it needs without juggling a bunch of different supplements. I got my IM8. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
Feeling focused to get through our 3-hour show. Co-founded by David Beckham and crafted with insight from experts at Mayo Clinic, Cedars-Sinai, and a former NASA chief scientist. It simplifies your wellness routine and makes it easier to support your health. The drink is loaded with 92 nutrient-rich ingredients and is designed to help you feel good from the inside out. What makes IM8 stand out is how it combines science with nature. They use effective ingredients and back them with research. Plus, it's been through clinical trials where 95% of participants felt more energetic and 85% said their digestion improved. It's vegan, gluten-free, and non-GMO. It's also NSF certified, which means all the ingredients are third-party tested for purity. You can feel confident about what you're putting into your body, making it a solid choice if you're focused on your health. So I'm just going to take a sip of the 92 nutrients here.
With the tasting notes, a delightful blend with earthy undertones, subtle tartness. Is it all of that and more?
It is. I feel I taste the tart, the little hint of chocolate in there. Mm-hmm. They sent us a beautiful, it's well packaged, a couple different supplements. My wife's stealing all of them. She drinks all of these every day, so it's good for her as well. So feel your best self every day with IM8. Go to im8health.com/CTM and use code CTM for a free welcome kit, 5 free travel sachets, plus 10% off your order. That's IM8, HEALTH.com/CTM, code CTM for a free welcome kit, 5 free travel sachets, plus 10% off your order. IM8health.com/CTM, code CTM. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. All right, man, it's another Victory Monday for the Chicago Bears and producer Will Hagel. All I know is since Hagel has taken over as producer, the Bears are 8-3. That's all I know. 31-28 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Bears just battling for the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
In the NFC right now. Steelers fall to 6-5 and now no longer in first place as of right now in the AFC North and out of the playoff picture. Aaron Rodgers did not play. Wrist injury. We'll see if he ends up coming back, but he was unable to go. Mason Rudolph got the start for the Steelers.
Because it was Mason Rudolph at Thanksgiving, not at Christmas. So you were never going to get the good version.
Never going to get. I mean, if you're trying to get him to lead you to victory in the dark.
Not at this holiday.
You got to be close to Christmas.
Yeah, we got to have a different holiday involved. Look, I think I had speculated before the game. Number one, we thought Rodgers would play. I did think that based off how they started talking, that was less likely than it was initially when we had literally no information other than it was whatever they called it, a slight break. The way they started talking throughout the game, it was like, or throughout the week, maybe he's not actually going to play. They end up going with Mason Rudolph, and I didn't know.
Is this like a 3-week injury then?
I don't know,
or 4-week, or is it like it's like a 1-week break? Like what?
His hand, he's there on the sideline with his arm in like a little splint thing. It's not like he's not casted up or anything. So this is not we're gonna have to leave 4 weeks for that to heal. I don't know. I feel like I feel like we were right in terms of the reason, right? It's can you hand the ball off with this thing on your wrist? But I don't know if that means it's a 1-week thing or a month. Anyway, I didn't know that it made a huge amount of difference with Rudolph versus Rodgers. I now think it does. I'd forgotten just how immobile Mason Rudolph is as a human.
You say that, but he had about a 15 or 20-yard scramble that got negated by an illegal formation late in the game.
There was also a play, though, where the pocket opens up and there's a gap between right tackle and right guard, and watching Rudolph try and escape through that was like watching a glacier move down a valley, and it's like Montez Sweat was just able to was just able to like watch it happen and slowly move off his blocker and sack him, and it's like that. Whatever about old man Rodgers and he's lost a step at his age, he still makes that play. So I think that is a significant difference. Like all these plays where Rodgers is resetting the leverage of his offensive line, Rudolph's not really doing that. And that makes a difference in a game like this.
Did you see the stat? The Steelers had not scored, was it 6 or 7 in the first quarter in like 50 games or something ridiculous? I didn't go back and fact check the actual number, but
no,
they scored a touchdown in the first quarter.
And it was the first time they'd done that for a long time.
The first time they had scored 7 in the first quarter in like 5 years or something ridiculous. So I was like, Rudolph is doing all that.
First quarter Rudolph.
Then you get T.J. Watt with a strip sack in the end zone.
Dude, what is that? Okay.
What's Caleb Williams doing?
Yes. Other than creating a catastrophe.
The Caleb Williams evaluation in this game is going to be an interesting one whenever you're ready.
Well, let's start off with the way everyone starts off the evaluation, which is what did the box score look like? The box score looked like 19 of 35 for 239 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, which results in a passer rating of 104.5, plus a couple of scrambles in there.
Yeah, and a really nice one on fourth down, really nice play on fourth down that well designed by Ben Johnson in the offense.
So box score reader says, good game, Caleb Williams. Continues the run, passer rating of 100+, all is well.
And I think he did some good things. I think the Bears' offense overall did some good things. I want to pull up his passing chart in a minute. I thought they attacked the middle of the field well. But I think a lot of that was the Steelers' defense as well. So the Caleb Williams strip sack, T.J. Watt doesn't really win against Darnell Wright. It's more Caleb. C.J. Stroud had one of these earlier in the year, like where you run back in the end zone and it's just bad news.
Right.
And so that's what Caleb.
So that's
Williams
the first.
So he's
part.
handing 7 points to the Steelers here.
Well, no, there's two elements of it. There's the number one, which is the only reason it was in the end zone in the first place is because you ran into your own end zone. So, like, mistake number one is you sort of randomly started the escapability part of it by legging it backwards into your own end zone. Like, usually a fairly significant no-no down by the goal line. Mistake number two is after trying to then evade T.J. Watt, usually fairly unevadable type of pass rusher, after trying to evade him and ending up in his grasp, you tried to like underarm throw the ball out of your own end zone and didn't quite make it happen, and so just threw the ball on the ground for somebody to pounce on as a touchdown. I mean, that's about as bad as you can possibly – it's about as bad a mistake as you can possibly make at quarterback.
Yeah. The play was at the play started at the 10-yard line.
Yes. And usually you should not end up in a touchdown for the opposition when you snap the ball at your own 10-yard line.
So that was a bad play. And that shows up on the scoreboard, certainly not in the classic box score for the quarterback. Also had 2 dropped interceptions there, I think both by Kyle Duggar. One was a short pass, very similar to the play Kyle Duggar had last week, which was a pick 6 against Joe Flacco. And then just a pure overthrow. I think the middle of the field was open quite a bit for the Bears in this game. And most of the time, Caleb hit those throws. This one, he just completely sails this deep dig route.
Over Odunze.
Right into Duggar's hands. And what I found...
And that was like right before halftime, driving for points. Like that's a big mistake.
Yeah, so we're always just honest about all this stuff. I think Caleb Williams is playing pretty well overall. I think his sack avoidance overall has been fantastic, which is ironic because the one time that he was sacked here today in this game led to a touchdown of his own doing. You can see the passing chart here, though, too, which we put up right in between us. Like they were attacking the middle of the field. They did a great job with that. The wide open seam route to DJ Moore, touchdown to Colston Loveland, another one to DJ Moore. They had some good throws that were open there, and Caleb Williams was hitting them. Also true was the fact that he had the 2 dropped interceptions. And it's funny because J.J. Watt was on the broadcast. And on the broadcast, he was like, man, Caleb Williams is going to want that pass back. Also, Kyle Duggar is going to want that back. He's going to be kicking himself in the film room for dropping this interception or that interception, right? He's going to be kicking himself. And ironically, I saw JJ, when asked about, hey, what'd you think of Caleb Williams in this game, tweet about, he looked pretty good. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. JJ, who did the game, was like, I had no picks. Pretty good game for Caleb Williams. Like you saw it, you were there, like just 8 hours earlier.
No picks.
You were talking about how he made a bad decision, bad throw. Like it wasn't a bad decision on the second one. He just overthrew him. And he had a dropped interception. So I want to be careful here because Bears fans are very excited, and they should be. They're 8-3. They've got a big Black Friday game coming up against the Eagles. But I think on both sides here, you would say the Steelers, with their backup quarterback, it was a game of missed opportunities. The dropped interceptions, missed opportunities for Pittsburgh. And for the Bears, I think they made some huge plays. They got away with a couple. Caleb Williams got away with a couple. I don't think this was his finest game.
No.
And I think a lot of those big plays that he created were they were fine, but it was bad defense by Pittsburgh in the middle of the field.
It's the difference between the sort of overall direction of Caleb Williams and individually in this game. What did you think of Caleb Williams? Like overall, directionally, Caleb Williams absolutely seems to be trending in the right area, and Ben Johnson may be the guy, for this whole thing to be moving in the right area, and everything is good. Like that speculation that we had in the offseason that this might take half a year to really warm up, and then the second half of the season, the Bears offense might be in really good shape. I think that generally is being borne out. We are seeing this offense look better week on week. Caleb Williams is looking more efficient and making fewer errors week on week. The offense is being more productive. suddenly you're seeing like all of the receiving weaponry that looked so good in the offseason is starting to work. DJ Moore had been kind of marginalized earlier in the year. He's suddenly back and making plays. Rome Odunze is still there making plays. Colston Loveland, Rex Kyle Duggar, I think, for a touchdown, right? And he's more in this offense. They're getting Luther Burden more involved. He's jumped ahead of Zacchaeus on the depth chart. They're using him.
Plays, yeah.
They're using him well. They're giving him screens, little reverse runs and stuff as well. They're using him as a playmaker. So all that stuff is working. However, it's like, I mean, the tweet is amazing. What are your thoughts on the Bears, Caleb Williams, et cetera, et cetera? J.J. Watt, I thought he played really well today. There's certainly a few throws he may be frustrated he missed, but 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions on a day the run game wasn't quite what it normally is. He stepped up another day. It's like, yeah, but like
the ones that he missed should have been picks.
He's going to have 3 turnover-worthy plays in this game for 2 dropped interceptions and 1 completely inexplicable throw the ball on the turf in the end zone play.
Like, and I hear Bears fans, they're jumping in the comments right now, especially in VOD territory, right? If you're just in here for the Bears Steelers game recap, just hear what we're just saying. In this particular game, I think you got away with a couple things. I think Caleb was absolutely, you summed it up well, trending in the right direction. And I love...
Like, it's possible to be excited about the direction he's heading in, whilst also say he had 3 turnover-worthy plays in this game, none of which counted on the box score, other than, the fumble thing goes in the, like, points were put on the board. But, like, it's not immediately visible from his passing box score that was a catastrophic disaster play from Caleb Williams. Like, you can come... If you look at the box score, as we did, it's like, oh, Caleb Williams played great. It's like, yeah, but his 3 worst plays, which were all very bad, don't count on that box score.
They're not in that box score. Bears defense deserves a shout out. A lot of injuries on that side of the ball. Another incredible interception from Nahshon Wright.
Nahshon Wright has just decided he's going to be an absolute baller now. Yeah. Like almost exactly when you crapped on him as not a very good player, he's turned into like the best cornerback in the NFL all of a sudden.
I tell it like it is, Sam.
Spectacular
he looks
interception.
Like one of the worst players in the NFL
again
to his career. But also, the last 2 weeks he's been outstanding.
Also, pass breakup down the field to Ben Skoranek. The dude, he's just decided, right? Oh, that guy thinks I'm not very good. Right. Watch this.
He's a CTM.
Nahshon Wright has just decided overnight to become an absolute baller.
So shout out to him, and then the Bears defense overall. Right, there was the end of game sequence there. Steelers had a comeback attempt in a 3-point game. They have a batted pass by, I think it was Grady Jarrett, to force a punt. Didn't force a punt, but, chosen punt by Mike Tomlin. They had all 3 timeouts. It was right before the 2-minute warning, so they go punt. It's kind of the traditional move. They force the 3 and out by the Bears offense. They get the ball back, but the Bears, another batted pass to end the game. Send Jaquan Brisker on the blitz, and he bats the pass to end the game against the Steelers. So Bears defense made 2 huge stops with the game on the line. And as you said, the offense, I don't think it was as clean with Mason Rudolph. Ran the ball well. They got Kenneth Gainwell going, Jalen Warren, DK Metcalf. Yeah. Technically, it's a rushing touchdown for him on the swing screen, but just not enough plays from the pass game for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and the run game, I think, looks a bit better from the box score than maybe it was, because 55 of those yards came on that tush-push handoff, like full kind of college trickery.
Yeah.
They line up like a push play, and then they hand the ball off around the corner to one of the guys that was lined up to be the pusher, and Gainwell takes it 55 yards, almost get down at the 1, because obviously the NFL's got to rule everything down at the 1-yard line. So it didn't quite get in for a touchdown, but goes 55 yards off basically a freak tush-push trick play.
So, yeah, that was a huge win by the Bears. Great job by their defense locking it up at the end. And, look, Caleb Williams had those 3 touchdowns and had some big plays over the middle, because I think they did a nice job exploiting the middle of that Steelers defense. The other thing, Dan Orlovsky has a tweet out there. I don't know if you could dig that up really quick, but it's like 3rd and 5. The Steelers it's 3 under, 3 deep. So I think it's just a screenshot, but it's 3 under, 3 deep, I believe, not 4 under.
Yep.
And so I'm saying fire zone, like they're sending 5. Right. And the 3 underneath zone defenders are like 8 to 10 yards on 3rd and 5.
The closest defender to the line of scrimmage is 9 yards deep.
On 3rd and 5.
And he's working the far side of the formation.
It's just brutal, man. I cannot figure, as confusing as the Falcons and Panthers and all these other teams are, the Steelers defense still might be the most confusing team because we literally I change my tune every single week. Oh, maybe they figured it out. Maybe they have it. Look at this pass rush. And then they have plays or games like this where the middle of the field's wide open and on 3rd and 5, they're dropping 9 yards deep, just allowing an easy completion with the game on the line.
It's just an inexplicable depth to be at. Like, you're specifically sending enough guys to force the ball out early, and it's 3rd and 5, and you're lined up twice as deep as the sticks. Literally, what is the point? I don't understand.
Yeah, it was bad. So Steelers technically out of the playoff picture right now. And look, I don't know if they would have won with Rodgers in there, but I think they probably would have had a better chance. And look, Rodgers played horribly the last 3 weeks as well, or 2 weeks, whatever it's been. I don't think he's played well at all.
No, he hasn't been good, but I do think that pocket maneuverability makes a significant difference to the team. DK Metcalf left the game injured, but did end up coming back, so I don't anticipate that being a big deal. But we're already looking at this receiving core as like it's DK, but who's the next guy? I mean, if DK isn't there, that's a major problem.
Yeah, it is. Black Friday, Bears-Eagles this week. Just a couple of 8-3 teams. Mm-hmm. Getting after it, Black Friday.
Just the number 1 seed on the line.
It's going to be great. We're going to be putting up the Christmas tree, watching the game. Big day. Looking forward to it.
Christmas tree.
Yes. This Friday, day after Thanksgiving, we're going to cut it down in the morning. Cut it down. I cut the tree down in the morning. It's going to be up by that afternoon.
Cut the tree a couple of times and then decided it wasn't worth the hassle. Number one.
No, so we found a good spot.
Number one, the cutting part wasn't worth the hassle. But the other part is when you put it up that early, and
it's a late Thanksgiving, though. It's a late Thanksgiving this year.
When you put it up that early, by the time you get it out of the house, it's just one giant bag of needles.
It's a lot of needles.
Yeah.
I do need. And
help. Even with the watering and stuff, it's not. You can't. It doesn't last. So after the second time, I think when I was like,
look at you putting a damper on Christmas.
Cleaning needles out of the house for like months. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing this.
I just vacuumed needles from last year the other day.
That's right. I'm not doing it again.
I need help from the viewers and listeners. I'm in the market for a new Christmas tree stand. Last stand, it's done. It's just awful. Tree fell last year. My tree fell last year.
Disaster.
You could say user error, but I'm blaming the stand. Maybe a combination of both. I need an idiot-proof stand. What's the best stand on the market for my freshly cut Christmas tree?
Which presumably needs to involve a water reservoir as well to keep it not being a big.
They all have some way of.
The worst. One of our neighbors puts the tree up the day after Halloween.
Oh,
that's crazy.
Well, that was who did we have on the? Charles Davis last year was on our show with.
That's true. Yeah, he's an early.
It was like mid-September. We had lights in the background, whatever it was with him.
And then so you get that extreme, and then the other extreme is I think Jeff Schwartz 6 minutes after Christmas is like the tree's out in the street.
That's my favorite. It's like it's usually December 26th, and sometimes it's his wife though that does it.
Right.
And she rips down the tree and drags it out. And last year it's like, let's get this done early. Christmas night. It's like Christmas night. She's dragging the tree.
I feel
to the
like
sidewalk.
December the 1st is when you can start Christmas. It has to be the month that Christmas is happening.
Oh, stop it. Thanksgiving's Christmas, basically. All right, where are we going next? New England Patriots 26, Cincinnati Bengals 20. Patriots moved to 10-2, closer to the division and perhaps a number 1 seed. Bengals fall to 3-8. Touch and go for a little bit here. Bengals were feisty. Splashes of the old, really bad Bengals defense, but not nearly as much as they had in previous weeks. And two different schools of thought here. If you're New England and you're a 10-2 team, happy to get the win, survive, and or you could say it's sloppy against a bad team.
Yeah, it's really how you read that. Do you say, look, why were you so flat against a Bengals team that frankly is not very good and has one of literally the worst defense in the history of the game through 10 weeks or whatever it was? Or do you say, look, this wasn't your day and you still dug deep, you gritted it out, and you find a way of getting a win? That's what championship teams do. I don't know what the right answer to that is, but that's the evaluation that you have for New England coming out of this. No Joe Burrow. There was a possibility that he could have played in this game. Old man Joe Flacco plays the game. Had an awful pick six in there, like late to the flat, classic, like rookie mistake from Joe Flacco. Only he's not a rookie. He's 58 years old.
It was the same. You described it exactly how I said. The rookie mistake from Flacco. The same pick that Cam Ward threw earlier this year and then Michael Penix Jr. threw earlier this year. When you're tardy to the flat. You're not just late, like 4 seconds into the
really
play
late
to the flat.
Really late and kind of looking at it for a while. It's like you just can't make that. Apparently, that's Flacco's 16th pick six in his career. And you're like, it's a meaningless data point. I think, though, that plays like this are why there's something to it, you know?
Is what?
There's something to a guy racking up a ton of pick sixes that's probably a meaningful data point. Above and beyond, like, it's not always in your control. Like, sometimes a pick versus a pick six is irrelevant. But, like, when a guy racks up 16 of them, it's because he does this quite a lot.
Yeah, but I think, like, Blake Bortles never threw one. There was
right.
Like, it was either him or Trubisky, like, never threw one or something, and it's like...
It's not it's not a one-to-one data point, right?
Yeah.
But if you have 16 of them in your career, you've probably done a lot of these things.
Anyway, the 2 pick sixes in this game. Drake May's weird one. I don't know if he was expecting Hunter Henry to stay up the seam, but he kind of lofted it up. May was off early with some of his footwork, kind of like flashback to college Drake May and all the criticisms of him. It's like, man, his footwork's all over the place. He's overthrowing passes. So he has an overthrow Geno Stone pick six. But then, Flacco, that pick six put the Patriots ahead, and they never lost the lead after that. It put New England up 14-10. And you're right, it was just a rookie mistake, and it's the second straight pick six, second straight week of pick sixes for Flacco. And even though I think the overall body of work from Flacco has been pretty good, you were wrong and right all at the same time, right? When you had reservations about, Flacco's not going to fix it, it was these types of plays. But it was like classic Flacco where he has a lot of value-add type of plays, but these are the disastrous ones the last couple weeks that have been game-changing, losing type of plays.
This is the player that I would have expected to see more of in the first few weeks when he arrived, and the reason that I didn't think there was any point in trading for him in the first place. Now, I was completely wrong because Flacco played out of his mind for a few games when he first arrived that I just did not think was possible. I did not think that was within Flacco's range of outcomes anymore. And he played well enough that their season should still be alive, and maybe technically is, but isn't really. So I think trading for him ended up being absolutely the right decision because it did buy them the time, or it should have bought them the time that they were looking for to get Joe Burrow back and still have a purpose for the season. But this was the type of player that I expected to see more of, which is inexplicable, again, rookie mistakes from a guy who's however many years in the league as he is.
We spend a lot of time talking about, what do these games mean and what do you take away from that? Again, I think New England hasn't been a winning team for a while. And we've talked about ticking boxes for them, right? You beat a good team in Buffalo and in Buffalo in prime time. You beat the bad teams and you survived and you haven't any slip-ups. Maybe this is the next box ticked, right? Like they put themselves in a hole. They're on the road. Yeah, Cincinnati's defense has been awful this year, but again, it's not like they're completely devoid of talent. It's not like they should be giving up 33 points a game or whatever it is. And they, even though Jamar Chase was out, they've got some receivers you got to deal with. Like they're not a disastrous team, the Bengals, right? And New England survived, and they did it without playing their best game early on.
Yeah.
And then, there was a point where we saw Drake May bounce back from that too. I think that's another tick box, not having that stuff implode. They had one drive where they completely flipped the field. One of the throws of the week, Drake May hits Demario Douglas up the seam for, I think it was 33. Unbelievable throw there. Douglas on an end around, and then another wide open pass, and they just completely flipped the field on like 3 plays. But the Bengals remained feisty, really nice goal line stand from them. But I think from a Patriots perspective, they did a nice job surviving and survive in advance at this point and just keep stacking wins, and you get closer to the AFC East and perhaps even the number 1 seed.
Yeah, and they still put up almost 400 yards. They had some points on the board. Like, it wasn't a disaster by them. It was just a relatively flat game against a team you would have expected them to absolutely roll through, and they didn't. I mean, it feels like one that you just move on from. Like, don't even dig into it too much. One big concern, Will Campbell got carted off during the game. Their rookie left tackle who's been really good this season. I mean, that's a huge blow if he's gone for any period of time.
So there's Jared Wilson, the rookie left guard, left really early. Campbell left later. The great Morgan Moses left, and I think he came back. But at one point they were missing 3/5 of their offensive line. Like Vidarian Lowe was in there playing left tackle. So if Campbell and Wilson miss time, you're talking about almost trotting out a similar offensive line as last year when we were like, what can Drake May do? behind this line. So you got to be careful. There is an unsubstantiated report. Did I get that word right?
Sort of.
That Campbell and Wilson both have sprains.
Yeah, Rap Sheet tweeted out 3 minutes ago, in fact, that Will Campbell is believed to have suffered an MCL sprain and will, in bold, have an MRI on his knee, sources said. He's a candidate for IR, but the hope is he returns when it counts the most. Vrabel had said something sort of vaguely similar right after the game. It's probably more than a week or two, but it doesn't sound like it's season ending. So it's going to be a rough month or so for Drake May in terms of pass protection, but theoretically, and now, this is the world New England are in, when the playoffs roll around, you should have him back in action.
And then toward the end of the game here, Bengals were down 10. Flacco throws a dime to Mitchell Tinsley, who kind of cooked Christian Gonzalez for a touchdown. Tinsley just continues to make plays when given an opportunity. T. Higgins did have to leave the game with a concussion.
Yeah.
That puts Thanksgiving in doubt. If he's already concussed, I don't know how he's going to come back for Thursday night.
Almost certainly not.
But
Chase is back.
And then after all that, we have another decision to go up 6, right? Another one of those situations. Patriots go up 6. It's 26-20, and the Bengals are driving, and essentially just 3 straight pass breakups by New England, 2 by Carlton Davis, 1 by Marcus Jones to end the game. So it was really close at the end, but New England's defense makes the stop against Flacco and the Bengals.
Yeah, I think, by the way, some point relatively late in the game, I think Flacco, he had one of those plays where you throw and then your hand ends up hitting something on the way through. I think he ends up going to the sideline and having to have a finger pop back into place.
Jake Browning came in for 1 throw.
Yeah,
I think that.
Yes. Yeah. I think Flacco had a dislocated finger, and the guy on the sideline had to pop it back into place. And I think if that was the case, it was his index finger on his throwing hand, and he goes back out there and
not that tough.
Balls out. I mean, I could have a pop back in place, but I'm probably not throwing the football anymore. I mean, I've had I've had broken fingers from playing football and badly sprained fingers from playing basketball, and I don't want to play anymore after those get hurt. I'm not going back out there and trying to throw touchdown passes to win a game. So again, rookie mistake from old man Flacco, but fair play to the old man. Still a tough grind, still a tough old dude.
He is. That's impressive. And nice throw to Tinsley. Flacco finishes 19 of 37 for 183 with that touchdown in the interception. And after the early pick, Drake May still 22 of 35 for 294. Touchdown and a pick. The touchdown was Bengals defense. That was like Hunter Henry in his own area code, wide open for a touchdown.
I say old man Flacco like we're not older than he is.
Yeah, but we're not playing.
I also don't have a gray beard. I think that helps.
My shoulders are sore from raking this weekend. Just feel like almost feels like I pitched a game a little bit.
I mean, I've got
raking.
I've got like Baker Mayfield shoulder in my right arm from when I played football, and that's never going to be right. And then every now and again, as part of the weekly, workout routine, one of the days rather, is is sort of pull-ups and stuff, right? And the wide grip pull-ups just shred that. Whatever's wrong in there does not like wide grip pull-ups.
You're not doing your scapular exercises.
I'm not.
Scap exercises.
I'm really not.
Protect your shoulder.
Yeah. I don't know that it would make any difference. I think whatever's wrong in there is permanently wrong, and it's just every now and again you're going to really destroy it.
Scap exercises and thoracic mobility fix everything in the shoulder.
I don't think that's true.
I'll give you a routine.
Yeah.
I got no more use for this game. I got little use for this game, but we're going to talk about it. Baltimore Ravens 23, New York Jets 10. Ravens move to 6-5. Your first place AFC North, Baltimore Ravens. Jets fall to 2-9. And they didn't even have a good quarterback to watch this weekend in college football. They got up 7-0. Tyrod to John Mechie. Held the Ravens to 72 first-half yards. So the Jets, stopping the run early on. They were doing a nice job, hanging tough. Ravens pulled away in the second half. Jets still had a chance, though. But was it Marlon Humphrey? My notes? Forced the fumble.
It was.
On Breece Hall at the goal line. It was 20-10. And Marlon Humphrey doesn't seal it, but pretty close to sealing it with the goal line fumble.
That was one of those plays, where it's like, being an announcer or a broadcaster, I'm sure is harder than it looks. But there's some times where it's like, I've heard a thing during the week, and this is vaguely, tangentially relevant to that, so I'm going to definitely say it now because it's a cool nugget, right? And he's like, man, Marlon Humphrey, he studies how players hold the ball so he can get the punch correct. He can go in the right direction. It's like there's a replay of him literally like grabbing hold of the ball and like just wrestling with it for a couple of seconds and then ripping it out. Like, there's no study involved in that. That's just see ball, get ball.
You don't think that was film study?
No, I don't. I don't think there was any film study involved in, I know he's holding the ball in a slightly unique way. I can get that. Like, he's just grabbing hold and wrestling it out. Like, there's no nugget anecdote attached to that. It's just man sees ball, man wrestles, hold the ball, man makes game-changing play.
Ravens got going in the second half so that was the key play in the game, right? The Ravens got their offense going a little bit, 34-yard defensive pass interference on Isaiah Oliver that started to get the Ravens moving. Like, I usually write down key plays that led to, let's say, like the 2 short Derrick Henry touchdowns. Like, there weren't really many from the Ravens offense. What did they end up with yardage-wise? Just 241 net yards for the Ravens.
Yeah.
Wasn't much better if you take out kneel downs. 2 of 11 on third down. So the Jets defense did a pretty nice. I'll say this: the Jets defense has played hard and been pretty competitive since even trading Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams. They've been competitive. They did a really nice job on Derrick Henry in the run game. I know some people are asking about Lamar. They're even asking him post game: is the injury affecting you? He's not as dynamic. Like, there's something still probably missing with Lamar, and now it's more of just a pocket type of game for Lamar Jackson and rely on Derrick Henry, and I think you lose some of the dynamism of that offense, and that's why they don't, as you said on the instant reaction last night, they don't feel as dominant, right? They don't feel as dominant in these games that
they're
they
definitely
should dominate.
not. I mean, this is the big picture thing for the Ravens. Like, on the one hand, this is exactly what people expected to happen, has happened. For the 1-5 Ravens have won 5 straight, and they're now literally ahead of Pittsburgh. They have the tiebreaker over them at the moment. So they're in first place in the division, having been 1-5. Vegas always kind of expected that to happen. They had never slipped out of being slight underdogs for the division. They were always basically as likely as not to end up winning this division overall. But the one thing that is true is it's not the Ravens team people expected to see before the season. They are not dominant. Lamar Jackson has just 153 passing yards, did not look spectacular. It's not even like it was 153. He has games every now and again where he's like 20 of 23 for 153 and nothing, no touchdowns or whatever.
Like 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, this was 13 of 23. This was not a dominant, efficient Lamar Jackson performance. This was a game where they struggled, they grounded out, they just about had enough plays to end up winning relatively comfortable on the box score. Like, Zay Flowers was, I think, by far their most dynamic passing or their most dynamic weapon on offense. But it's not the Ravens team everyone expected to see. So whilst they may still win the division and get into the playoffs and, host a playoff game, they're not the dominant force. Like, they're not the team. Nobody's scared of this Ravens team right now.
Yeah, unless you could get Lamar. It's not even that he has to be running the way he was. It's more of the sack avoidance and using him as a threat in the design run game. Kyle Hamilton was banged up at one point in this game.
That looked really bad, and it apparently is not. It was sort of weird. It was like a confluence of 3 or 4 players, and Hamilton's. It wasn't even contact. It was like in rushing to sort of be involved in this tackle, his leg kind of planted in a weird way, and he immediately like hops up, hobbling, and you're like, uh-oh, that doesn't look good. But apparently it does not sound like it's a bad injury.
So they're going to turn around and play Thanksgiving night. So they're hosting Cincinnati this week. Joe Burrow did practice in full before this week's game, and we mentioned, hey, if he's doing that, he could be back Thanksgiving night.
Yeah.
And I don't think, Cincinnati's probably out of it now at 3-8, but I don't think they have to protect Burrow for the rest of the year. I don't know if there's a big re-injury risk or anything, so they're probably just going to play.
That's what it should be. That's what the determination should be, though. Is he in any risk of re-aggravating this? If he is, forget about it. If he isn't, then sure. And if nothing else, Cincinnati can prove quite an impressive spoiler for other teams. They play Baltimore twice, they can ruin the Ravens season.
Oh, yeah.
They play Buffalo, they can ruin Buffalo's season.
And so that's what the Ravens have when we were anticipating this little run here. They've now won 5 straight and won 5 straight. Last couple against lesser teams. not in dominant fashion, as we said, not in like classic Ravens fashion, but they've put themselves in position now to be leading the AFC North. They've got the Bengals Thanksgiving night. They'll have their mini bye, and then the Steelers coming to town. So they're in the middle of a 3-game home stretch. Weird schedule, too, for the Ravens. 3 road games, 3 home games. Middle of this homestand here, and Steelers coming to town December 7th.
Cincinnati sweeping the Ravens would turn this division into quite a hilarious level of chaos. Like if they swept Baltimore and then maybe Baltimore sweeps Pittsburgh, and they're all just sitting there at like what a 6 and or
well,
6
if Cincinnati
and 7
does
or whatever.
that, then you could if Burrow's back and Cincinnati can win the rest of their games, they're 9-8.
Yeah.
So that's what they're in the same spot as last year. If they win out, Joe Burrow's presumably coming back. If the Bengals win out, they could still make the playoffs. So we keep writing them off every week because they keep losing, but they still alive. They don't lose.
But that specific run where if they were able to knock 2 games off Baltimore, if Baltimore were able to knock 2 games off Pittsburgh, I mean, just those games alone ends up putting both those teams with a losing record, with Cincinnati moving 2 games closer to getting back to a winning record. It would make a pretty hilarious level of chaos with Burrow back in the lineup. I mean, their defense is so bad that it's a worse version of last year, but it would still be pretty funny.
Anything else from a Jets perspective? They played hard.
They did. They
kept it close.
This was not a bad performance by them. They were noticeably better with Tyrod Taylor in the lineup and not Justin Fields. Like they're more effective. Their receiving core is still awful without Garrett Williams in the lineups, or Garrett Wilson rather, in the lineup. So there's a ceiling to how much you can expect from them, but there were like a couple of big leverage plays went against them. The Breece Hall forced fumble that we talked about as well. The Jets went for 4th and 2. Nate Wiggins had a nice stop there. So, they didn't quite get the plays they needed to, but they hung tough in this game.
And Breece Hall, really nice 40-yard reception in space, 4 catches for 75 yards. Every time Breece Hall makes a play now for the rest of the year, I'm going to kind of picture him in that Kansas City offense and think about, was that worth a 3rd or a 4th rounder for Kansas City? Did they make the right cutoff there? Because I do think Breece Hall could make a nice difference for Kansas City down the stretch here.
I'm kind of sad they didn't trade for Achane.
Oh, yeah. He would have
Achane
absolutely
in that Chiefs
helped that
lineup.
offense. All right, we get a couple more of the one more 1 o'clock game to get to. But first, you know how fast NFL game days move. One big play and everything changes. That's why live betting on FanDuel is a game changer. With FanDuel, you can bet in real time while the game unfolds. Score just flipped, jump on a new spread or a live money line. That wide receiver's heating up like JSN. Bet the next touchdown scorer or total yards. Think that drive stalls in the red zone? Take a live field goal prop or fade the total. Live player props, team totals, drive results, updated spreads, next play markets. It's all there. It's fast, it's fun, and with FanDuel, your live bets move as quickly as the game does. So whether you're riding momentum or fading the hype, FanDuel puts you right in the middle of every moment. Visit FanDuel.com/33rd to download the app and bet NFL live all season long. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rghelp.com, rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-878-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Paid endorsement. Packers get the win over the Minnesota Vikings, 23-6. Packers move to 7-3-1. Vikings to 4-7. Packers headed to Detroit for a huge Thanksgiving Day. I wish there were lesser games on Thanksgiving so I could, not ignore my family watching the TV all day. But Packers Lions going to be a huge one. Usually at 12:30. I think it's 1 Eastern now. They've moved it back away from the tradition on John Madden Thanksgiving Day.
Is that allowed in the multifaceted celebration of John Madden?
I don't think we're allowed to change the time from 12:30 to 1, but I think the NFL has. Do they have no respect
None.
for tradition? So Packers take care of business. Vikings and J.J. McCarthy and the offense look bad.
Yeah, really bad. It was weird, though, because at halftime, these two teams were separated by 1 yard of production. And then things really went away from the Vikings in the second half. The the punt goof for Minnesota was huge.
That was the game.
It really was. Now, I think ultimately J.J. McCarthy and the offense are so bad that eventually the Packers would have gone away and found enough plays to score, and Minnesota probably wouldn't have answered. But we have seen McCarthy and the Vikings pull themselves together for like 2 drives late in the game a couple of times already this season. So as long as it was close enough, you couldn't rule it out. But that price thing was huge. Like, it's such an unlucky play as well. You get these plays where it's like, it's a good punt from the Irishman, Dan Whelan. Puts it inside wherever it was, to 5.
Put a little Irish spin on it.
Exactly. Somebody was trying to make that point, I think. That like
one of your Irish friends. Look at the spin.
I can't rule it out, but I don't think it was. But it's like, yeah, he
only someone with a rugby history could
Irishman
do such
Dan
things.
Whelan causes the fumble. It's like with the side spin that he put on the ball to make it jump left once it hit the turf. But it's like, it's the classic punt returner's back. He plants himself at a yard line. If it goes over his head, he tries to block the gunner so that the gunner can't down the ball, right? That's the sort of standard sequence of events for a punt returner. And Price has been really good this year, so I'm not dumping on him. He does exactly that. He decides the ball's going over his head. He's not going to field it, so he goes to block a guy, and then the ball takes this like 90-degree jump to the left once it lands and ends up careening off him as he's trying to block a guy. And once you do that, it's a live ball. Packers can recover it. They jump on it. He's not able to get on top of the ball. Insta red zone. Touchdown a second later. Huge play. I've seen people argue, like, just get the hell out of there. Like, what are you doing? It's like, yeah, it's not an uncommon thing for him to then try and block a guy and make sure the guy can't down the ball. Maybe you can argue he was too close to the ball to be doing that, but I think you need to look at what that ball did to see how extreme that bounce was to make it a problem.
You're going to have to check the spider cam, see where it landed, see what it was doing in the air.
Anyway, it's like, okay, it's a big mistake from Price. I understand why and what he was doing, though. Like, it's not a crazy thing that he was at to try and make that happen, but that ends up being a massive swing in that game.
Yeah, so it was 10-6 at the time, and Packers scored a 1-yard touchdown right after that. Emmanuel Wilson, 17-6, and it just felt like, okay, that's insurmountable. A dominant 2-play, 5-yard drive by the Packers to go up 17-6. I thought Jordan Love made a couple nice plays while getting hit. Didn't really need much from him. They just fed Emmanuel Wilson, shortened the game. The Vikings only ran 44 plays offensively, 2 for 9 on 3rd down, 0 for 1 on 4th down. 44 plays for 145 yards for the Vikings. I thought JJ, nice little dig route to Justin Jefferson early on, and that was pretty much it.
52 net passing yards for the Minnesota Vikings.
Yeah.
That's not ideal.
Before we break down JJ and some of the numbers behind it, I thought Micah Parsons, just every week, man, but just creating havoc in multiple ways, right? They had 2 sacks on plays where Micah did not have the sack, but they had him just kind of playing linebacker and decide whether he's deciding or they've got it predetermined. He's going to rush over right guard or left guard and just try to blow up the play. He blows up. Even if he didn't have the pressure, he's just messing up entire blocking schemes. So there was 2 sacks there. And then another play where he absolutely smoked Darisaw, leading to a sack for someone else. And then 2 plays where he just smoked Darisaw 4 sacks, either around the outside into the inside. Darisaw had a rough game at left tackle for Minnesota, but I thought Micah Parsons did his usual, and it showed up in the stat sheet for him, but also in the stat sheet for others, using Micah Parsons to blow up plays.
Darisaw left the game as well. Is
he playing through injury this entire season?
Well, remember, so he came back from his injury, and they had that weird situation where they had him on a pitch count coming back to the point where they took him out of the game. Like in a critical late game situation, it's like, oh, he's just reached his pitch count, so your left tackle isn't playing anymore. I don't know. That's an unusual way to come back from an injury for a guy like that. I don't know if is he just 80% this entire season? Like, what is the deal with Darisaw? But yeah, he left the game again. So Justin School comes in at left tackle. He's the guy that gets wrecked by Rashawn Gary for that interception play where Gary gets all the way around School, who got chipped to the tight end. He just runs around that, runs all the way around the left tackle, and then makes the play on J.J. McCarthy with the deep play-action drop. Darisaw was getting wrecked anyway, but I don't know if I don't know how healthy he is.
So I know I saw the raw numbers out there for J.J. McCarthy and putting them into historical context. Like an interception like that, like I don't think J.J.'s seeing the field well. Like I don't think he's doing great, but he's essentially strip sacked ball.
Yeah, that one.
But the ball tips up,
right.
and it's an interception rather than a strip sack.
That
really
one's not really on
avoid.
him.
And then he has it's 23-6 late, and he sails one for an interception. And
that was pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bad miss, but it's like, all right, it's already 23-6. The damage has been done.
Yeah, but it's also one of those ones where it's like it feels like you're, rather than at least trying to salvage some respectability out of the game, you're just imploding.
Yeah, I mean, but like that's the same throw that Caleb made that was dropped for an interception.
Sure.
Just
but in a different
catching
situation,
strays,
in a different
Caleb.
context.
Pull out the stat that you had on JJ.
There's a couple that are pretty hilarious, not if you're a Vikings fan. Where is this one? So there's one, which is in the last 30 seasons, there have been only 2 Vikings quarterbacks who've thrown 2 interceptions in 3 consecutive games. They are 2012 first-round pick and future of the franchise, Christian Ponder, and 2024 first-round pick and future of the franchise, J.J. McCarthy. That's not a great connection if you're trying to be optimistic about his future. Then there's the tweet that, where the hell is this? Oh, here we go. Anthony Amico via Danny Heifetz from your Nemesis podcast.
Nemesis.
J.J. McCarthy now ranks 851 out of 852 quarterbacks in EPA per dropback among qualified passers since 2000 per True Media. The only player below J.J. McCarthy is Jamarcus Russell.
Oh.
And remember, Jamarcus Russell is arguably the largest figurative and metaphorical and physical bust in NFL history. The guy who they had to trick into showing that he wasn't actually watching tape by sending home videos and him being like, oh yeah, I watched them when they were blank videos. And he kind of ate himself out of the league. I mean, he's as bad a cautionary tale as you could possibly find at the quarterback position. Johnny Manziel, who openly is now admitted to literally watching 0 tape in the NFL, has been better than J.J. McCarthy so far in his NFL career. And look.
And that's not through a certain amount of time. That's just 6 games
period.
of J.J.
Yeah.
period against.
And it's only 6 games, right? It's incredible. And he's still the youngest starting quarterback in the NFL. And who knows what his career may eventually yield. But right now, it is non-functional, it is catastrophic, and it is murdering the Minnesota Vikings. There was a play in there. He just operates so slowly. It's not.
Yeah.
There was a play in there where he escapes quick pressure from Rashawn Gary, and then just kind of stands there paralyzed and can't make a decision as Devontae Wyatt is moving slowly in his direction, unblocked, and he's like, he knows it's coming. He's sliding to his left. He's like, I got to get away from the large, slow-moving defensive tackle heading in my direction. Oh, where do I go here? And eventually he gets sacked by the guy who was moving slowly in his direction inexorably. And it's like, come on, you can't. I understand it's 3rd down, but the ball's got to come out somewhere.
You're like Chris. Once you start making the noises, something's going down.
It's just
all that
so
said,
slow. You can't do that.
I don't think you get the full gist of it watching the broadcast. Like when you watch the all 22 angles, there are plays that come open, right? There are plays where I'm visualizing JJ in the pocket, and it's just the reads, it's just not there, right? Like I have 2 plays where I thought he turned down 3rd down conversion opportunities where he's either checking down at the wrong time or vacating the pocket or whatever it might be, and I'm just picturing Sam Darnold last year. Maybe he's taking a hit,
yeah,
but he's holding it that extra beat to get to the right throw, or he's checking down at the right time. The timing is all off. You
know what he's playing like right now? He's playing like Justin Fields if Justin Fields wasn't an athletic super freak. It's all one read. It's all slow developing. It's all just slow, stare down a target and wait till it comes open and then let rip.
And a few of those let rip throws have been very good.
Yeah.
Right? Which includes what should have been a potential game winner last week to Jordan Addison.
Because the arm talent is there, same as it is with Justin Fields. And again, really good, Justin Fields, so much of the problem is the quote unquote turn downs as much as anything else. It's what you're passing up to be paralyzed in the pocket and not make plays as much as it is about your misses and the inefficiency of your passing. It's non-functional. And the only reason Justin Fields has been functional to any degree is because his athleticism is so spectacular that despite all these misplays or, non-efficiency as a passing quarterback, you're going to take off and extend a play and make some special things happen with your legs. This is like, what if we just turn Justin Fields into a pocket quarterback that's not going to move?
It's a really interesting comparison because I think you might. Yeah, I think that captures it pretty well. The more concerning thing for J.J. McCarthy and the production number, because I want to preface this really quick. It's worth mentioning. I don't think this is close to the worst quarterback play I've seen, despite that number.
This century.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone, fire up YouTube, throw on some 2011 Jacksonville Jaguars, Blaine Gabbert rookie season. Blaine Gabbert's rookie season was rough, man. And credit to Gabbert, like he came out of it and became a reasonable backup at points in his career where he went out and played some okay football. He's got a Super Bowl ring or two or whatever it is, right? But Blaine Gabbert as a rookie was so over his head to the point where I remember watching Monday Night Football, like right around this time of year, week 12, and he stepped up in the pocket and overthrew a pass, and everybody's like, there it is. He stepped up in the pocket. I know he missed the throw, but he was so bad under pressure that the fact that he stepped up one time, and even though he missed the throw, was like, all right, baby steps. So Gabbert, John Skelton had some of the worst quarterback play I've ever seen.
Believe, we were talking about this yesterday, I believe that Skelton is the low watermark for me. John Skelton was cartoon levels of terrible. Like I think he was football Wile E. Coyote, where it's like he drops back to pass and then like boulder in the face. It was like the most absurd Looney Tunes level of awful I've ever seen at quarterback. Somebody, by the way, in my mentions after that tweet where I quote tweeted it, they were using a different app, so it's a different thing, but like they couldn't replicate the list that he got. But it was worst EPA per play by this list that this guy put together. Jamarcus Russell is, in fact, the worst by a considerable distance. Jared Goff's rookie season, second worst.
I was going to bring that up. It was bad.
Derek Anderson, Brady Quinn.
Are these just rookie seasons then?
This might be what this guy's doing, but anyway, John Skelton, Josh Rosen. These are the worst EPA per plays that this guy's put together.
I mean, when Bryce Young was going through this, by the way, Bryce Young had stretches that were awful.
Yeah.
And when Bryce Young was going through it, I kept referencing Goff, right? So if you're a Vikings fan, you go back and you say, okay, we've seen people come out of this. Goff came out of it. Bryce Young came out of it, even though he's had some ups and downs since that point. He absolutely came out of the disastrous
level. Yeah, I mean, he went from so bad they benched him and pretty much wrote him off at that point to at least at the moment it's still up in the air as to whether he's a functional quarterback going forward.
But Jared Goff's 2016, he also didn't start until right around week 10 or 11, 12. It was last year of Jeff Fisher. The offense was horrible.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the play where there were 4 receivers within 5 yards of each other in like a box. And I'm like, what is this? This is the worst offense I've ever seen. But also Goff looked so overwhelmed. And within a year, he had Sean McVay and was looking great. The concern, so on one hand, players have come out of this, right? Goff, Bryce Young, Gabbert didn't really, but, whatever. I've seen worse quarterback play than J.J. McCarthy. The concern is that he stepped into what felt like one of the best situations a quarterback has ever stepped into in the last 10 years for a rookie. You have Justin Jefferson. You have Jordan Addison. You have T.J. Hawkinson. You have a revamped offensive line, which I don't think they've had injuries and they haven't played as well. And you have Kevin O'Connell. And you have Kevin O'Connell who just rejuvenated Sam Darnold and maybe taught Daniel Jones a whole bunch of football that helped him in Indianapolis, whatever. Led Kirk Cousins to his best season. We have Kevin O'Connell, who every quarterback he has been with in the last 5 years has been excellent and excelled, or at least maximized their potential. And you have this great group of playmakers. That's the problem. When you go back to Jared Goff, when you go back to Bryce Young, in the awful seasons, they had a bad offensive line, they had a bad system, they had bad pass catchers. There were excuses that you could put right next to their poor play. And I don't have that for JJ right now. Maybe the offensive line a little bit yesterday. Yeah, they got whooped.
The offensive line is definitely a variable where it has not been as good as it was supposed to be and as they wanted it to be when they overhauled it. And it keeps getting hurt and it keeps getting banged up. They have yet to have the starting five that they wanted to have going into the season play together. Darisaw may be playing 80% the entire year. Who the hell knows what his health issue is? And the drop-off between Darisaw when they have to go to Justin School or anybody else at left tackle is a catastrophe. But you also have to understand how much J.J. McCarthy is factoring into that as well. Like, his average time to throw this season is over 3 seconds for a guy who isn't Justin Fields, who isn't running around extending it with scrambles behind the line of scrimmage, a guy who's just standing there gormlessly staring down receivers with a 3 seconds a clip with a bad offensive line. Like, he's making the offensive line look worse than it is, even if the offensive line has been bad. But the thing is, like, you cannot have Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hawkins, and Aaron Jones, Jordan Addison, Adam Thielen, and Jalen Naylor all played in this game and combined for like 80-something yards. That's awful.
That's what's rough, and that's what the difference is when you compare J.J. McCarthy's early struggles with other quarterbacks with early struggles. You could easily make the excuse for their entire supporting cast and or play caller, and you don't have that in Minnesota. So now the Vikings, just to finish this up though, Vikings are at a tough spot because JJ's not ready. And they have a playoff caliber team. I know they're 4-7. They have a playoff caliber roster. And they have built this roster with veterans. They have not drafted in volume the last few years. They have not drafted particularly well the last few years as far as bringing in a lot from the draft because they've traded a bunch and brought in veterans, right? They've brought in this defense mostly through the veteran route. And so now you've got this 52 players that are prepared to like challenge for the top of the NFC, and you have a quarterback who's the youngest starter, as you say, who's not ready. And so and by the way, Sam Darnold has gone somewhere else and performed well. And so that's the tricky part for Minnesota, both right now and going forward for decision-making purposes. They're a team that's built to win now with a quarterback who's not ready to play.
Well, they have two problems. They have an acute problem and they have a chronic problem. The acute problem is that next week's opponents are the Seattle Seahawks and their defense. And right now, J.J. McCarthy is non-functional as a starting quarterback and probably has his confidence in the tank, right? Do you sit him down? Because, like, what's better for his confidence? Benching him for Max Brosmer, who I don't even know how you say his name. That's, do you bench him for the guy that looks like Paxton Lynch and I don't know what his name is? Or do you play him against one of the most murderous defenses in the NFL, which is more likely to absolutely break the man? I am not sure what the answer to that question is. And then you have the chronic problem, which is, like you've articulated, this is basically a championship caliber roster with a quarterback that's non-functional. And I don't know what the development solution to that is. Can you sit him down and then come back to him in a year or two's time? Where do you get the veteran quarterback in between? Do you go, is this a team that then goes shopping for a Jacoby Brissett in the offseason and hope he's the guy that can do this? Like, they went from an answer at quarterback to no answer at quarterback, and that's just a difficult spot in the NFL.
I know we didn't talk about the Packers as much here, so if you tuned in to hear more Packers talk, took care of business. Micah Parsons, pass rush. I think they did a nice job. Defense did a nice job. Can't wait to see them play Thanksgiving against the Lions.
Mm-hmm. Another good game from Christian Watson as well. Keeps making plays. Like, he's been remarkably efficient after injury.
Absolute key player, man, for that offense. I didn't think we'd spend as much time on that, but I think it was worth breaking down where we are with J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings.
A little bit of breaking news in between games. The Giants have fired D.C. Shane Bowen after that game.
So just stitch that onto our Giants analysis. Bowen fired. It's just very interesting. I've got so many thoughts on that. Because we had the Hard Knocks episode, and I just have general thoughts from a team-building perspective because they showed Shane Bowen going in there, right? They were coming from Wink Martindale's system, which is at that Brian Flores level of unique, which is like no one runs this system. No one does it like Wink. He's crazy/aggressive, however I used to describe him. And then they have Shane Bowen. And I know this happens in every building. A coordinator comes in, and he's teaching the scouts what he's looking for in players. And he's like, I need pass rushers, and my corners have to do this, and I want my linebackers to be able to do this. And then the scouts go out, and they find the players that fit the scheme. And now the danger in that is a year and a half later, he's fired. And the scouts just spent 2 years building this team, theoretically finding the players that Shane Bowen needs for his system. And when you do that, some scout said Aaron Donald's or some coordinator said Aaron Donald's too small for my system. Don't push those guys aside. There was a team had Tyree Wilson, maybe the Raiders, over Will Anderson on their draft board because of length, because that was the schematic fit for that team. And so this isn't a Shane Bowen problem. This is just, I think teams have this problem where they try to, go ahead, coordinator, tell us who we need to go find. And then if you're not good, like, all right, we're going to have a new coordinator. We're going to find different types of players. My point is just draft the good football players, and Mr. Coordinator, sir, you fit them into what they do best, build the scheme around them. Some teams probably do it well. Because we had Hard Knocks and we got to see that behind the scenes of Bowen saying, I like this and I like that. And then the scouts go get those players, and now he's gone within 2 years. I just think it shows some of the disconnect, I think, between coaching and scouting and team building.
A little bit like the Daboll firing. It's kind of curious to me that you do it now, particularly having already fired the head coach. It's like, you're going to be firing presumably the coaching staff in its entirety, basically, in the offseason. Is there any real purpose in firing him now after you're doing whatever? Jordan Schultz has a tweet that it's Mike Kafka that's decided enough is enough. Interim head coach Mike Kafka, who's had the job for like a week.
It's got to be
been like,
top, though.
I'm out on Bowen. Guy's been pissing me off for months.
Like, who took the job a couple years ago? Was it Rizzi? What's his name? The special teams coach for the Saints. He somebody fired the running backs coach day one.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I've been waiting to get rid of this guy for weeks. Can't stand him. The first thing he does in the job, finally can settle a score.
That'd be like you take over at 30.
I mean, maybe Kafka's been
get Hagel on. I've been hating Hagel this entire time.
Maybe Kafka's been sitting there in every meeting for like the entire season, being like, "Man, if this guy was just less of a jackass, we'd be better off on that side of the ball."
It's because of performance, though. It's the fourth quarter collapses and the fact and yesterday's. Yeah, it's all the fourth quarter collapses.
Of course, yeah.
Of course, that's why.
But
it's not because he hates Shane Bowen.
But it's just so bizarre that, like, I mean, you're interim. Forget what he is. I mean, he's obviously like a dead man walking by the end of the season based off how this season's going. Like, you're the interim guy.
But a defensive
I
coordinator.
I got to establish my credentials.
Defensive coordinator, I get. Whoever came in and fired the running back coach one day, it's like, this dude's sleeping in meetings, or like, what's he doing? What's he doing that the running back coach needed to be fired?
Day one is definitely
was
a
that
like.
Rizzi?
Yeah,
I think
you're right. Day one is definitely
got this vendetta against the running back coach, and he's out of here.
There's a story behind that one that we need to hear.
Oh man, it's gonna be the longest show ever.
I like that Will's dad, Jim Hagel, though, has hooked you up with a new tree stand.
That's the one I have.
Well, then get it again.
That's the one
It's obviously the one.
You gotta twist all four pieces into the same. It's the one I have, and I just don't know. I don't know if the tree's getting too big for that. If we've outgrown that stand now that we've started cutting down our own, it's bigger than me. The tree. We have a lot of ceiling space, which is nice in my house. We could use it. I don't know if that's the right stand, but I do appreciate Jim Hagel giving his recommendation. I just don't know if I can trust it going forward, or do I give it one more year?
Well, also
we had trouble with it. We had trouble with tilt last year. We had some trouble with
I mean, you control the size of the trunk that goes in there.
I may have needed to get. I don't know. We may have chopped off too much or too little. I forget what it was.
Well, it's something like you're not at the mercy of the tree that's handed to you. Like, you're literally going out and selecting the tree that you cut down. Like, if it doesn't fit, it's your fault.
Do I bring the stand with me to the farm?
Yeah, eyeball it.
So that we can, help me fit this.
Right.
Maybe even put it on for me ahead of time before we bring it into the house.
No, you can't do that. You got to put it on.
We'll work together. I know.
I'm just saying, you bring it with you so that you can eyeball the tree that you're cutting down to fit in the stand.
And all we're talking about here is I need a Christmas tree stand.
Yeah.
So anyway, ready to talk? You ready to talk Browns?
Yeah.
The Cleveland Browns, the Fighting Shedeur Sanders is Browns 24, Raiders 10. Shedeur Sanders gets the win.
In a victory for rational discourse everywhere.
Victory for it's gonna man. If it wasn't a Thanksgiving week, if we had 5 days of shouty, I assume the shouty show people They take the holidays off. They send in the backups, the replacements in there. Like Stephen A. takes a couple days, to gather up some Thanksgiving takes to unleash next week. But if we had a full week of discourse, it would be, it'd be better.
Well, let me start with then.
Browns 24-10. They move to 3-8. Raiders fall to 2-9. Go ahead.
Yeah. Let me then start with an entirely presented without comment data point. 35 or more yard completions by Browns quarterbacks this season. Shedeur Sanders, 3. Joe Flacco, 1. Dylan Gabriel, 0. End of message.
That's it. I mean, also presented it without context. Shedeur, 11 of 20 for 209. 1 touchdown, 1 pick.
I guess let's work.
10.5 yards per attempt.
Let's work backwards with a bunch of data points. The other thing Shedeur did, obviously won the game, 1-0 as a starter. He becomes the first Browns quarterback to win their first career start since Bill Belichick was the coach of the Browns. They were 0-17.
Which is really the Ravens.
Right. They were 0-17 from that point. So certainly the new Browns, the rebirth, nobody had ever won their first start. Now, Baker Mayfield comes in relief and wins that game, right, and then lost his first start. Right. So it's not quite as clean as that. But Shedeur snaps a 17-game skid of Browns quarterbacks getting their first start and losing.
So high level, what did you see from Shedeur Sanders beyond the stats?
It's that first stat. It's the 35-yard completion stuff. Now, look, one of them is a swing screen to Dylan Sampson, who then just runs through the defense and scores. But the first bomb, the bomb to Isaiah Bond, right? Shedeur Sanders brings – this is what we were saying, right? Shedeur has a flaw, Dylan Gabriel has a flaw, but they each have strengths. Dylan Gabriel's strength is he will operate the offense quickly, get the ball out of his hands fast, and mitigate some problems with the offensive line. Shedeur Sanders' strength is he can create big plays that aren't necessarily there. He can actually attack down the field and make some big plays that wouldn't have been there in this offense otherwise. And then the question becomes, what is the balance of that versus each guy's negative? Well, in this game, Shedeur's negative was not a big factor. His negative being his problematic relationship with pressure, how he handles the pocket, how he invites pressure and takes bad sacks. He didn't do that in this game. And in fact, he actually did well under pressure and turned some of those plays into these big plays. And that first bomb to Isaiah Bond, I think, was a really important play. Number one, it showed what he brings to the table for the Browns. They haven't had that all season. That's why he already has the 3 longest, I think, completions by any Browns quarterback this season. And then number two, the Raiders' game plan to start this game was, we are going to speed up this kid because he's already shown that he doesn't like pressure and he just implodes in the face of that last week. We're going to blitz him. We're going to make sure he's under pressure, and then he will collapse and he will wilt and we will win. And that play, they blitzed him. He escaped. He rolled to the right, and he hit a bomb over the top and almost scored a touchdown off the back of it. And the Raiders backed off. Almost, I think, from that exact point. They were like, all right, fair enough. Tip of the cap, young sir. We're, in fact, going to back off and hope we beat you just with 4. So he changed the game. Like, the Raiders came in there with the game plan to blitz the crap out of him and speed him up, and he would implode. And he didn't, and they had to change the way they were playing defense because of it.
That play was really impressive. Really impressive.
And by the way, it showed some arm that people have questioned whether he had or not.
It did. I mean, when we were breaking him down for the draft,
I always thought that was overblown, by the way.
I don't know if there's like pure high RPM zip or anything from Shedeur, but he had enough throws, even off platform. Off platform, he was kind of hit or miss, but he had that Hail Mary-ish type of play against Baylor, rolling to his left, which I thought was really impressive. And this one to Isaiah Bond was very impressive. And our biggest question with Shedeur was not the on-time throws or the accuracy. For me, it's against tight man coverage and it's pocket movement. The pocket movement and the way he handles pressure. And look, he was thrown into a very difficult situation last week against the Ravens. You can say, LOL, 4 for 16 and 2 sacks for 27 yards. And there was truth in that, but there was also truth in the fact that it's a very difficult situation to start. Mm-hmm. Just like this week, there's truth in the fact that the Raiders are an utter disaster.
Yes.
But there's also truth in the fact that Shedeur Sanders stepped into the lineup. The offense had some big playability that they haven't had all season. They probably unlocked parts of the field that Dylan Gabriel was not unlocking. And Shedeur was only sacked one time. And I think he was only 20 passes. But I think there was a comfort level under pressure that we hadn't seen, and he just ticked that box for 1 week against the Raiders. And I think that first pass, the way you described it, kind of setting the tone for the Browns offense was huge. He hits a 33-yarder to Jerry Jeudy, who ends up fumbling.
Dude, what a...
And look, we don't need a 66-yard screen pass for a touchdown so that the people on both ends of the spectrum, look at this, 10 yards per attempt. We don't. It's not helping anything. It'll play itself out over time. But I think overall it was a pretty good debut for Shedeur. And then you have the interception, which was just a pretty bad misread, pretty simple.
But the kind of play it's understandable, right? They dropped the guy off the defensive line. He was angling out.
Opened his hips to go run to chase the.
He's angling out to go to the flat,
right?
And Shedeur thinks he's not a part of the picture, and basically Snowden just reads Shedeur's eyes and reverses track and goes back to where he's going with the ball. That's that's a classic rookie mistake, right? It's like that. All you did here, you read it right, and this was the thing we were saying about Shedeur. This is what I think is the coaching point for him last week going into this week is, look, you generally read things correctly and make good decisions. Trust your eyes and just put the ball in the air quickly. Don't hold on to the ball for an age and create problems, right? This is a good example of that, but it's also an example of what you need to learn, right? The adjustment between the college level and the NFL level. You read it correctly. You saw the guy drop off the line, and you thought he's heading to the flat to cover a guy over there, and therefore this is open. The mistake you made is, having read that, you then just stared at the guy you wanted to throw the ball to, and so the guy that was headed somewhere else has the NFL playmaking ability to go, well, I'm going to bail on that and go back to the play where he's going with the ball, and picked it off. So just a classic, that's the rookie error that you need to learn the difference between the NFL and the college. That's the Peyton Manning rookie interception streak thing. It's those are the plays you need to learn. NFL defenders make those plays. College players don't.
I'm with you. When you watch the end zone angle, I'm I kind of get what he saw.
Yeah,
was Snowden, who's by the way is 6'7" in a
right. He's a defensive end
right.
Who's not you don't expect him to be adjusting mid play and making plays in coverage. He is opening his hips and moving his ass to the flat. So Shedeur's read is correct. He just unfortunately stared it down long enough that Snowden was able to change what he was going to do.
There were other simple plays in there, not like last week when there was, a few people saying,
now we're Shedeur apologists.
Now we're apologists. Look at this. We're on both ends of the spectrum here. On 3rd and 10 last week, his immaculate 5-yard check down that turned into a first down thanks to Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, another one. Despite all odds, gets the most out of his yards after the catch receivers. Last week it was Jerry Jeudy. This week it's Harold Fannin.
Oh, I didn't pull out the stat, but this was the best yards after the catch game in 2 decades. I don't know, it was something ridiculous. I don't know. There's some number out there. I can't imagine that's the exact it doesn't matter. But his actual check down to Harold Fannin on 3rd down, under pressure,
yeah,
to get it to Fannin, and then Fannin does a great job. Our friend Ross Tucker goes, I love Harold Fannin. I texted Ross. I'm I do too. Fannin looked great after the catch on a couple different plays in this game. But that check down, that's different than the one last week with Jeudy, where Jeudy does all the work. This was man, you avoided a sack, and you turned it into at least giving your player a chance to make a play, and that was a great play for Sanders, given the fact that I expected in this game him to make some throws, and even though the Raiders don't have a great pass rush beyond Max Crosby, still maybe get sacked 4, 5, or 6 times from what we've seen from Shedeur Sanders. So the fact that he only had the 1 sack, avoided the sacks a couple times.
That's
and made
the most
plays
important
down the field.
stat in the game.
Very impressive for Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, that's the most important stat in the game. He came out of this game with just 1 sack. Again, just because, and I think the Raiders did the right thing in backing off. I understand the urge to try and speed him up, but they blitzed him 5 times in the game, and 3 of them came, I think, on that first drive, including that play where he hit them for the 60-something yard play to Isaiah Bond, and then they basically backed off for the rest of the game. I think that was the correct adjustment to make, which is, I understand the urge to speed him up and make him panic, and that'll create bad plays. That one play, though, shows that that's dangerous, and actually, based off last week, if we just leave him there with 4-man rush, he'll probably implode anyway. And the important thing is he didn't. They backed off, they rushed just 4, And despite the 4 guys who are, they've got some pretty useful pass rushers up front, Shedeur did not implode in that kind of situation. So that's huge. That is his biggest weakness, and he did not put it on display in this game. And so you then end up evaluating his strengths, and his strengths were he brings a level of big play aggression and variance that none of the other Browns quarterbacks so far this season have brought. Joe Flacco didn't really bring it, and Dylan Gabriel certainly hasn't brought it. So that's all Shedeur could do, right? Like this was never like he can't win the starting job based off this game. Certainly not long term. But what he can do is make you ask the question going into next week, do we give him the game this week, or do we go straight back to Dylan Gabriel?
I would rather not have. I mean, I'd rather give him another look. I'd rather not have one data point where it's against the Raiders and there was some good and some bad.
Because that's
even
the
if it's
other
more
thing,
good than
right?
Bad, it's like the Raiders are one of the worst teams in the NFL.
Because that's the thing.
Worst.
It's an incomplete evaluation because the Raiders are so bad that you're like, there's an asterisk there.
Yeah.
So
if I'm the Browns, I want to come out of this season with a quick evaluation on Dylan Gabriel, a quick evaluation on Shedeur Sanders, and then, oh, by the way, if I have a top quarterback available, I'm still probably going to draft somebody.
That's the point. All he could do in this game is make you ask the question of whether you should start him next week instead of Dylan Gabriel. I think he did that. I saw somebody tweeting out that he asked a couple of it was Ben Fox. Ben Fox? Is that his name?
Yeah, if that's who you.
He was basically saying he'd asked a couple of odds makers, what can Shedeur? And basically they were saying Shedeur, his job in this game is to prove that he can be a backup long term. It's like they're don't even think about him as a starter at this point. Like his only ceiling in this game is to try and show that he can be the team's backup in 2026. And I think that's probably true. But doing that, step one is play well enough in the game that going into next week, they say, let's give him the start next week instead of Dylan Gabriel, because Gabriel's basically already played himself out of that job. And I think he did that.
Anything else on Shedeur and the Browns offense? Quinshon Judkins had 2 touchdowns, really nice direct snap touchdown to in the tight red zone. That was nice. Anything else on the Browns offense before we get to what happened on the other side of the ball?
No, it looked, it was better than it's been at any point this season. So, look, I would give Shedeur the rest of the season, which, by the way, would also almost exactly match what I said was going to happen this season in terms of Flacco would get a month. Flacco would get a month.
Audio for that.
Dylan Gabriel would get the next chunk, and then you'd get a month of Shedeur Sanders to end the season. It's kind of where we are, more or less. But it was a noticeable improvement, right? This offense is more dangerous with Shedeur Sanders intact. Look, this is probably the high watermark in terms of how his play in the pocket is going to be, last week being the low watermark, and the average is probably going to be somewhere in the middle. But this game, to me, makes it worth giving him the rest of the season to see what you have. And again, the chances are what you have at best is probably going to be a backup, but you got your evaluation on Dylan Gabriel, and Dylan Gabriel did not make enough big plays, and that's why you're now looking at Shedeur Sanders or next week. And Sanders has made enough big plays, and now let's give him a run and see if his play under pressure or his relationship with the pocket is going to be good enough that you trust him as your backup.
Next few weeks, 49ers, Titans at home. Niners and Titans at home, then the Bears on the road.
And those are, no defense from the 49ers perspective, an improving defense from Tennessee's perspective, and a pretty good defense now from Chicago's perspective. So it's a ramp up in difficulty.
On the other side, Geno Smith sacked 10 times by the Browns. That doesn't include a busted play where it was like a 5-yard loss on a run. 10 times sacked for negative 77 yards. Merely 3 sacks for Myles Garrett in this game.
Yep.
Well on his way toward the NFL sack record, which I agree needs to happen in 16 games. Got to do it in 16. Can't use that 17th game, Myles. But well on pace. Geno Smith sacked 10 times. He made a few really nice throws down the field, by the way. But, man, this Browns pass rush. And it wasn't all everybody's like, well, the offensive line was terrible. Everything was bad. It was all bad. The whole blocking scheme was bad. So much so, Chip Kelly did get fired after the game. Offensive coordinator, the highest paid offensive coordinator in the NFL, fired by week 12 of his first season with the Raiders.
Yeah. Hell of a payoff for Chip.
I've got notes on all the sacks. Do you want to Do you want to hear what I have to say?
All the sacks.
I have
Sure.
notes. We've got Grant Delpit completely unblocked through the middle.
Not great.
We've got a screen pass that just got you had a defender in the passing lane, so Geno ate it, so he goes down because he couldn't throw the screen. So that's like neither of those are really on the line. You have Devin. I mean, it's like when people say the line, I always think of the blocks from the offensive line, and trust me, they had some bad blocks up front.
Stone Forsythe.
But there's also just straight up unblocked rushers with no answers. There's miscommunications. There's canceled screens that become sacks. It's all bad. Yeah, Stone Forsythe, once they finally didn't give him help, had no chance. That's sack number 10. Devin Bush unblocked on play action for a sack. We have 3rd and 15. Geno kind of has room to step up and let it rip, and he just steps up into pressure. It was on its way with both defensive tackles on a little twist, but he just kind of stepped up into it. Should have ripped a deep ball. We've got the center completely bull rushed into Geno, which helped Myles Garrett's first strip sack.
Yep.
Around a double team, by the way. And when we go back and we say, look, Myles Garrett's been the same guy every year. He keeps winning and winning and winning, but this interior pressure, as Ross was pointing out, does help him get the actual sack totals. This is a good example of that. We have Isaiah McGuire unblocked after a chip on a play action where it was covered well, and Geno ate it. Isaiah McGuire sacked him. We have Cameron Thomas, who's been a pretty nice little rotational rusher for the Browns, absolutely destroying DJ Glaze on a bull rush as Malik Collins comes free on a stunt. That's sack like number 7. We have Garrett right around Stone Forsythe and a chip on play action. His bendability around the edge at his size, I know we've been saying this for nearly a decade now, but I feel like it's better than ever. So Garrett gets sack number 2.
An ability to get skinny.
Yes.
Like for a dude who's 275 pounds and like as broad as a house, his ability to slip between the tackle and the chip block is crazy.
Sack number 9 came with 4:06 left in the fourth quarter, and this is if you have NFL Plus or if you it's worth a look just for the comedy of it, or if you have the broadcast and you want to go back. I called it synchronized bull rushes against left guard and center. Both the left guard and center were bull rushed to the ground at exactly the same time. It's pretty comedic. I know they tripped over each other, but they were both getting popped. And that allowed Cameron Thomas and someone else jumped in for a cleanup sack. But the number of pockets. So like there were some plays where it was just linebackers coming free. There's other places where the walls were caving in from every angle on this offensive line. And then the last one, it's just a straight 4-man rush. No games, no tricks, nothing from the Browns. They just forgot to give Stone Forsythe help. And it reminds me of, you remember when Aaron Donald, it's like he gets 5 one-on-ones per game.
Yeah.
And he's going to win 3 to 4 of them. And Myles Garrett is at that point where he's never going to get one-on-ones. In this whole game, they were creative in how they were trying to stop Myles Garrett. He's just that good. They finally give him a one-on-one straight-up rush against Stone Forsythe, and he just whoops him one-on-one for another strip sack. Sack number 10 and number 3 for Myles Garrett.
And that's a great example of when you have a guy like Stone Forsythe as your offensive tackle and he's going up against Myles Garrett, you literally cannot give him a single play where he's one-on-one because Garrett will win and it will be an immediate hit. That's a remarkable handicap for an offense that has to deal with. Every single play we call has to have something in it that involves giving our left tackle help against Myles Garrett. Like that's problematic.
So now Chip Kelly's been fired. Pete Carroll's now fired special teams and offensive coordinators. He had never fired a coordinator in all of his time.
Really?
In Seattle. That was the story going around. And look, it's not all Pete. Like you talk about these things, right? It's interesting too. People said Tom Brady had a lot of hand in this offseason for the Raiders, whether that's the Chip Kelly move, whether that's Pete Carroll. There were rumblings. I don't know how true they are. You know, the rumblings are rumblings that they were debating between Sam Darnold and Geno Smith. Darnold was going to be available in free agency. Geno Smith they traded for, and that Brady liked Geno Smith. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know what happens going forward here, but the Raiders are an absolute mess right now.
They are disastrous. I mean, that was awful. Their offensive line is in bits. That's to a degree not their fault, although it's some degree to their fault. Like they drafted Ashton Genty instead of an offensive lineman. But the injuries have really bitten deep. It's a catastrophe at the moment.
All right. we've got 4 more games to discuss, and it's already 9:30. It's okay. It's a fun show, man. It's a fun show. Jacksonville Jaguars get the win over the Arizona Cardinals in overtime, 27-24. Jags move to 7-4, still in the wild card picture in the AFC. Cardinals move to 3-8. Strange game, right? Wasn't this a strange game? Cardinals get Jags are up early, 7-0. Cardinals get a strip sack, fumble 6. Walter Nolan walks in for a touchdown to make it 7-7. And then it's just back and forth. Trevor Lawrence has 3 picks, 2 of them on his own. One's a batted pass in the end zone. It's just all over the place, but the Jags end up getting the win. There's a few game management decisions that need to be discussed. But what were your initial thoughts on this one?
And one of Lawrence's picks was very similar to the Shedeur Sanders pick that we were talking about, of like, that's a rookie mistake where you just need to learn that NFL players are capable of making that play. I mean, he kind of did the same thing. His was a guy dropping off the line again, and then but it was sort of inside from a linebacker or lineman, and then he just follows Trevor Lawrence's eyes and undercuts the pass for an interception. And it's kind of, I mean, Trevor Lawrence is going to be a big discussion point coming out of the game, because no matter what you want to see from Trevor Lawrence in terms of what your axe to grind is, whether you think he's terrible or you think he's great, it was here for you. Like, you can construct a reel from this game that would show him as a top 5 quarterback, or a reel that makes him look like J.J. McCarthy.
And I hate to say
it's all there.
That discourse is usually reserved for the mid-tier quarterback. That is Jameis Winston discussion through the years. I think Jameis gives us a lot of value. However, the turnovers. I think Derek Carr makes a lot of plays. However, look at these game management decisions.
I think that's the reality.
Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Like, all of the mid-tier type of quarterbacks, you have that. There's some good, there's some bad. And then there's people on both ends of the extreme who always have their fodder coming out of those games.
I think that's the reality, is that you can't really make those arguments for truly elite quarterbacks. You can only really make them for guys that are mid. They're somewhere in the middle. They do some good, they do some bad.
Which is an endearing term.
And then the question is just, what is the net? Where does that shake out? What is the net of that? How does it balance out? And unfortunately for Lawrence, he's already been handed the sort of elite quarterback contract. So the analysis always has to kind of be focused a little bit negatively, because you're like, well, the value isn't there relative to what he's getting paid. But yeah, he's a guy that's going to make a bunch of big plays in either direction. And then the only question is, does that end up as a win or a loss in this game?
I mean, just to break down Lawrence, like some of the highs and lows here, the Jags offense had these stretches where they were just like moving it, like 4 plays all the way down the field. And then that one drive ended with an interception. And at first I'm like, oh no, Trevor, what are you doing? And then you see that the pass is batted, right? So it's just tipped. Yeah. He had Jacoby Myers in the end zone, and it's an interception. It was interesting hearing the broadcast talk about like how upset Lawrence was, and then Jacoby Myers is kind of calming him down. It does seem like they have a good rapport, because he came back later and with an incredible anticipation throw to Jacoby Myers. Like, the trust that Lawrence had, threw it well before the break. And this is, as you're saying, like the fodder in favor of Lawrence. You would show the anticipation touchdown to Jacoby Myers. You would show the overtime throw to Parker Washington up the sideline. You would show actually the overtime miscommunication with Tim Patrick, the great Tim Patrick, wide open up the sideline, and Patrick's not looking for the ball. And it's not even that it's a great throw by Trevor Lawrence, but it should have been about 40 yards, maybe even a touchdown in overtime. So you would see.
I don't know why Patrick is not looking for that ball.
So we're 12 weeks in, and we're still in like both things are true territory. Few more drops for the Jags receivers, miscommunication with Tim Patrick. The Jags receivers are probably leaving 100 yards on the field almost weekly, which is true. And then Lawrence, the other 2 interceptions that he threw, though, were bad misreads. Budda Baker, Davis Gaither both had interceptions in crunch time, like in key situations, one of them in the fourth quarter, which led to the go-ahead touchdown for the Cardinals. But to Lawrence's credit, he came back with a quick drive and an answer. So it was a Jameis-y type of game for me, for Trevor Lawrence, where there's like some bad decisions in there, and there were some big-time special throws from Lawrence, and you got both ends of the spectrum there.
Jacoby Brissett backs up a 57 drop-back game with a 55 drop-back game. And as I said, going into this, if he drops back 50-plus times again, he's not going to get out of it without getting sacked. Sacked 6 times this time. So a team with a pass rush will, in fact, punish Jacoby Brissett for dropping back 55 times or more in a game.
And look, we had a little live stream yesterday, and only a few people got to see it. But I would like to apologize to our listeners because we dropped the ball, especially on a preview Thursday, when we did not highlight the fact that this was a revenge game for Dennis the Barbarian Gardeck. Complete oversight on our part to not highlight the fact that the Barbarian was returning to Arizona, where he had great accomplishments, multiple multi-sack games as the sole pass rusher for Arizona through all those years. And he was filling in admirably while Trayvon Walker was injured. You had Gardeck and you had Josh Hines-Allen, the new Jaguars sack leader. But the Barbarian, 2 tackles of Jacoby Brissett for an official 1.5 sacks per the NFL. But the Barbarian making plays in his homecoming.
Also had a pretty hilarious penalty where he was the 12th guy trying to run off the field as they snapped the ball. And it's one of those ones where, like, you run and you try and jump, to get off as fast as possible. But, like, that
you have to run through the sideline. It's a baseball thing. You don't jump to first base, you run through it.
I think it's fine. It's just that you don't know how close the ball is to being snapped or not when you're doing that. So it's like the ball has been snapped like a second ago, and Gardeck's just like, whee! Jumps up in the air as he gets to the sideline. Looks pretty funny.
So we missed the Barbarian revenge game, in which he did get some revenge and had the 2 sacks. There was a couple interesting game management decisions here that I referenced 3 hours ago on the show. The Cardinals were down 3, and they had a 4th and 12 in their own territory and went for it late in the game. Let me try to pull it up here. So it's 4th and 12. It's 2:07 left. So this was the exact situation where the Steelers punted. And I think the Cardinals probably had all 3 timeouts, right? So you get the 2-minute warning, you get your timeouts. You would normally punt, play defense, and then try to get the ball back and hope that you're still down 3. So Arizona goes for it on 4th and 12, which is a tough pickup, and they don't get it. So now the Jags are instantly in field goal range, and you're handing them a 3-point opportunity. So the Jags go 3 and out, but they get stopped on 3rd and 1, and then it's 4th and 1, and instead of kicking the field goal, they go for it, right? So they're in that situation now where they're up 3, and they go for it, thinking one first down ends this game, and we don't want to go up 6. So it's another one of those up 3. Do you want to go up 6? What do you want to do? And they get stopped on 4th and 1. That gives Arizona the opportunity to get back into field goal range, which they do. They kick the 29-yarder to get to overtime here.
Yeah.
So the announcers, I think it was Archuleta, hated both ends of it, right? They wanted the Cardinals to punt and play defense on 4th and 12. They wanted the Jags to kick the field goal to go up 6 on 4th and 1. And theoretically, it kind of worked. I don't know. I don't know if it worked for both or didn't work for both, but it happened.
The most interesting part about that whole thing, though, to me, was right at the end after that when the Cardinals, so they get a huge play to Michael Wilson, double move, the corner bites on a disastrous play by the corner.
That's my guy, though, Christian Braswell.
Awful play.
It was.
Huge play by Michael Wilson. So they get most of the way down there. They're in field goal range. And then they let the clock run down before taking a shot. So if they'd spiked it, they would have had at least a second shot at the end zone.
They lost opportunities to win the game.
They basically burned a play. They were like, instead of, they got up in place. So number one, Michael Wilson gets up, spins the ball, and there's like, oh shit, we actually need to, run a play again. So he has to go and collect the ball that he spun in celebration, give it back to the official. I don't ultimately think that ended up costing them any time because there was such a long play, like the offensive linemen are still running up, and the time it's taken him to spin the ball, realize he screwed up, grab the ball again, and give it back to the official. It just looked a bit silly. But then what I would have done, big first down, you're in red zone, you've got shots at the end zone, spike the ball, you're now at 2nd and 10, and you've got 2 shots at the end zone in the time you've got remaining before you kick the field goal. Instead, they let the clock run down before running a play, taking a shot at the end zone, and then kicking the field goal. Like you burned a shot at the end zone for no reason.
Yeah, that was poor game management at the end for the Cardinals.
The only reason that makes any sense is if you think that like taking a shot at the end zone is so risky with Jacoby Brissett at your quarterback that you only want to give him one shot.
You got to try to win the game.
That's what I mean.
Try to win the game.
I don't understand why you just literally burn one shot at the end zone for utterly no purpose.
So they end up going to overtime. Lawrence hits Parker
Washington.
Washington. Why did, dude?
Tim Patrick screwed up. Parker Washington made plays.
No. You don't want to know what's going on in my brain, Sam.
Usually don't.
Patrick Washington was the fullback for the 2001 Jags.
Of course he was.
So I saw P. Washington, and my brain immediately went to 01 Jags. It's not good. It's bad. Like, delete that. Because they went from Ty Halleck to Damon Shelton to Patrick Washington.
Of course.
As fullback for the Jags. I think it was 01 when he was there. Parker Washington, who I'm a huge fan of. I love Parker Washington. By the way, huge punt return in this game too. He's so good. I love him. Nice pass for 25 yards, and then the third down incomplete to Tim Patrick, which could have cost them the game on 3rd and 4. But credit the Jags defense. Hines Allen with a sack on the final drive. They still end up getting a first down, but then 2 incompletions on 3rd and 4th down. The number of is this the 3rd game the Cardinals have had incomplete? They've had games end on 4th down incompletions in opposing territory within a score. The Packers, Colts, and now this game, unless I'm missing another one. So this is when the Cardinals are like the best 3-8 team I've ever seen. They're so close. But credit the Jags for holding on.
Yeah.
Those 2 decisions really quick. I just wanted to talk about for a second. The 4th and 12 that the Cardinals went for, I think their reasoning is we're trying to keep the ball. They're anticipating if we make these stops, then the Jags kick the field goal to go up 6, and we're okay with that, right? If we're talking about the offense doesn't want to go into that situation, then the Cardinals don't care about being in that situation, down 6. But they want one more shot at a first down to keep the ball. The Jags are deciding, and then the Jags get to 4th and 1. So it's like a game of chicken. Who doesn't want to go up 6? So then the Jags don't take the bait. They don't want to go up 6. And it's 4th and 1. You got one play to win the game. And it's like, I almost always vote for one play to win the game.
Yeah.
Especially in 4th and 1. And they don't get it, right? One play to win the game. They don't get it. However, the downside of that, obviously, is now the Cardinals have almost 2 minutes to drive the field to kick a field goal, which is not automatic for most teams in the NFL, but it's a high percentage play. So that's the risk in what the Jags did. But I kind of get it for both sides, and it didn't work for either team, right? It didn't work for the Cardinals theoretically, even though it kind of did, and it didn't work for the Jags, even though it kind of did. So I get why it was unconventional, but it's now the new convention, and interesting decisions.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I got.
Another game where Michael Wilson ends up with 118 yards off 10 catches. Trey McBride remains really good. Greg Dortch was a big factor. If and when Marvin Harrison Jr. comes back into this offense, and if that resurgence in his career was real, I mean, this is the really good receiving core that it looked like it was on paper before Marvin Harrison was kind of underwhelming, and then everything was underwhelming. Like this, with Jacoby Brissett dropping back 55 times a game on average, 56 on average, they can cook. You know? Just a smooth 56 dropbacks 60 on
dropbacks
average
every week.
Yeah.
Marvin Harrison, Michael Wilson and Trey McBride combining for 350 receiving yards.
It should work.
It should work. Yeah. Jags currently the number 6 seed. They're tied at they're behind the Chargers, who they just beat. I don't know. Okay, so whatever. We're at this point in the season. The Chargers would win the tiebreak over Buffalo and Jacksonville because it's a three-way tie. So it goes to conference winning percentage, not any head-to-head stuff. So Jags are technically the number 6 seed, 3-way tie at 7-4. They're all 1 game ahead of the Steelers, Texans, and Chiefs at 6-5.
But perhaps more importantly, they're now only 1 game back from the Colts.
And 1 game back of the Colts, good point. They play the Colts twice. The Texans play the Colts twice. And look, I'm not ready to completely predict a Colts collapse here down the stretch.
No.
But it is in the realm of possibility here that the Colts have some struggles down the stretch compared to the first half of the
I mean,
season.
look, those can go obviously one of two ways. Either they can assert dominance on the division, stamp out the pretenders, and beat the other teams that are trying to nip at their heels. Or if they lose those games, suddenly they could throw away the division. And what seemed ridiculous a couple of weeks ago, that the Colts might not make the playoffs from their start. I mean, that could happen if those other two teams sweep them.
Hold on one second. There's somebody who wants to educate us on the Shedeur film.
Oh, great.
I just need to ask him for it. There we go.
What do we need to be educated about?
We're haters. The film,
Haters? We were like,
I don't know. Could be talking to the chat. Could be talking to us. I don't know. I think we're pretty honest and pretty on.
I watched a reel the other day. There was a guy saying they ran an experiment where you got a glass of orange juice, right? And then you showed people, you pour the glass of orange juice into a smaller glass, right, which makes it look like more orange juice. And then they asked people, does this glass have more orange juice in it? And 30% of people said yes, right?
They watched you pour it from one to the other.
So 30% of people, after watching you pour the orange juice into a smaller glass that makes it look like more orange juice, replied, yes, there's more orange juice in that glass.
Wow.
And this guy was like, these are people that are surprised by, when you go peekaboo, they're like, the way a baby is. They're like, and you're arguing with these people. Like 30% of humanity fits into this category of they're genuinely not able, they're like a dog.
That's amazing.
They're not capable of understanding that once you don't see anything anymore, it doesn't exist. And so you're arguing with that 30%. You have to at least, anytime you're talking to anybody on the internet, you have to ask yourself, is this person one of the 30%? Because if he is, they don't even know what you're saying, let alone are able to construct an argument about it.
I was just curious. That's amazing. This is going to be a 4-hour show, and this is my
I've
favorite.
been using a lower percentage because it's there's always
But there's still somewhere between, there's the 30%, but then there's still another 20% that are still pretty dumb.
There's always 10 to 15% that no matter what the survey is, they will say yes, right? No matter what it is, how you can come up with the most ridiculous question you've ever thought to ask, and there'll be 10 to 15% of people who are like, yeah, 100%. You're like, so I've been using that kind of percentage, right? There's 10 to 15% of people you just write off immediately as not worth your time. But if the number is 30, I mean, that should change your entire outlook on life.
Maybe one or two snuck into our chat, but I know that our viewers and listeners are not part of that 30% or even the 50% that are below average intelligence. I know that's not true. Quick break to talk about our friends over at Root Insurance. Root Insurance believes that good drivers deserve a better rate, so they've created a new kind of car insurance that rewards good drivers in an easy-to-use app. Traditional car insurance companies focus on demographics like age, zip code, occupation, and credit score to price your coverage. When Root offers a rate, your behavior behind the wheel gets more weight than any other single factor. They didn't use occupation or education level to negatively affect your rate. While you drive, Root gathers and analyzes data from your smartphone sensors, and after a few weeks, you'll get a car insurance quote based primarily on your driving. You could save up to 44% off your initial Root quote after you take the test drive. If you need a tow truck, jump start, or you lock your keys in the car, Root will cover the help you need to get back on the road when you opt into roadside assistance. The Root app makes it easy to edit your coverage, update your policy, or file a claim in just 3 minutes. You can get started today at Root.com. 3 games left, Sam.
What?
Now, the last 2 are pretty quick, I think. Next one, though, Eagles-Cowboys. The Cowboys get the win. 24-21. 24 unanswered points for the Cowboys to move to 5-5-1. Eagles fall to 8-3.
I had a tweet written when it was 21-0 that I actually ended up deleting and not pulling the trigger on. That was we were no sooner had we started asking the question about whether Dallas could actually go on a run and had their season been revitalized and were they really a playoff factor team, that they decided to completely crap themselves and nothing goes right and they're just getting wrecked by the Eagles. I'm like, you know what? You know better than that. You've seen games reverse, from this kind of stand before. And I'm like, I'm going to delete it just in case. And then it's exactly what happened.
Eagles got up 21-0. And then it was both teams really were trying to lose this game. You have turnovers left and right. But the Eagles at first, to get up 21-0, it was it's like what good teams do. They're like, oh, you had questions about our passing attack these last few weeks. You have questions about the relationship between Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. Hey, check the mic. You guys are questioning Jalen Hurts' ability to throw the ball over the middle of the field. Well, watch this. We're going to hit A.J. Brown in rhythm over the middle of the field. We're going to do all of that.
Yeah.
We're going to answer all those questions. Not that they're answering us.
Turns out that's effective.
But they were answering the rhythm questions, the connection between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, they were answering all those questions. And it was almost 14-0 immediately with A.J. Brown having that second touchdown. But they were up 21-0 and looking really good. But really, how many times this year have the Eagles in one half of play looked like a top 3 to 5 offense, and in the other half looked like a bottom 5 offense? Other offenses go into these lulls, but it just sticks out so badly with the Eagles, where they completely disappear offensively after looking dominant. And it's not always the first half where they're good and then they fall off. Sometimes it's a bad first half and then they figure it out in the second half. But that has been their MO, and that's what happened. 21 points pretty quickly, and then did not score again, including all of the turnovers. A muffed punt or a fumbled punt inside the 10. Saquon Barkley lost a fumble.
Yeah.
And this is with the Cowboys doing the same thing, right? Kevontae Turpin took a handoff, fell over, and dropped the ball. Dak Prescott threw an end zone interception, right? Both teams were doing their best to try to lose this game.
There were some absolutely – so, yeah, number one, the Eagles got up. They got up 21-0, and they looked really good on offense. However, they were also given some big plays that broke their way in order for that to happen. Opening drive, Dallas fails on 4th and 3. They go for a 4th down, don't get it. So immediately you're turnover on downs to start. Then the Eagles get the A.J. Brown touchdown. Then they get a roughing the punter call on Dallas that extends the drive. Ryan Flanoy, I think that's how they're saying his name now. He thought he tipped the ball. I think on the replay, it looked like he was right. And if you tip the ball, you can't be done for roughing the punter. That's a block. So it shouldn't have been a foul. That drive got extended, and they were able to keep going. But then, obviously, the Turpin thing, the Turpin fumble was ridiculous. That's one of the most farcical plays you'll ever see. Number one, 160 pounds of Turpin is lined up in the backfield for like a, Percy Harvin gimmicky type of play.
Which I'm okay with. I
sure.
love it. Like, he's so good with the ball in his hands. He had the long catch after. Like, he's so fast.
And then he just trips over, falls flat in his face, and on the way to face planting, lost the ball on the back of his blocker. And so it's a fumble, like just an absolute cartoon of a play. And then, like, they were just getting wrecked. Dak has an interception in the end zone. Ed Reed Blankenship undercuts it. Dak underthrown slightly. 21-0 Eagles ball, time on the clock. You're like, this is an absolute beatdown. And then they got to stop. And then you get the Turpin big catch and run before halftime. And that gives them life. If they don't get that, this is probably dead on arrival. That gives them a chance to get something. Then you get a big Jake Ferguson catch that puts him down at the 1 or the 2 yard line. Touchdown the next play. You're like, okay, it's 21-7. We're at least still alive.
But even then, it's like Dallas is still trying to lose it. CeeDee Lamb, missing.
Second terrible game against Philadelphia this season.
I don't know how many official drops, but it's like just doesn't catch the ball in these big games here. Did we have official? Yeah, at least 2. Drops, I think, for CeeDee Lamb.
I mean, it was wasn't it like 5 in the first week? Like week 1 was, didn't he have 5 drops in that game or something?
It may have only been 2 or 3 official there too, but they were huge. I mean, it was like deep post and then the dive.
Maybe it was 5 drops across 2 games against them, but it's 5 is a number that's in my head for his drop.
But that's what I think makes Dallas dangerous in this thing, right? It's the same way. And look, you could say the same thing about Dallas. What you said about the Eagles. They didn't do anything early, but I think that was more Dallas unforced errors, whereas the Eagles just kind of like disappear offensively, but they had their own errors too. But Dallas is dangerous because, part of that, when it was 21-14, Dak throws it up into double coverage to Pickens, who goes up and makes another incredible play. Unbelievable. Again, by George Pickens, 9 catches for 146. Lamb still had some big plays in there despite the drops. Turpin, as you said, with the 48-yarder. They're just explosive. And they also, Javonte Williams had a bunch of runs where he's got some room to run and create. He's not explosive or anything, but he had 87 yards on 20 carries as well. It's a dangerous offense, and it's just a better defense. It's a better Dallas defense where they can at least make a few stops, as they did in this game. Force the Barkley fumble. Yes, the Eagles gave him an absolute gift with the punt return. Gibson inside the 5 or the 10 and fumbles it. A gift. And then the Eagles still make a stop on 4th and goal. I mean, it was just both teams were like not winning the game. They were either actively trying to lose it or not going and winning the game until Dallas finally.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing in the second half was the Eagles did that thing that they've done all season long, which is they just stopped scoring for basically an entire half of football. I mean, they had this, even with Dallas getting the touchdown drive before halftime, 21-7, you're like, it's still comfortably in hand. The Eagles should win this game without any trouble whatsoever. And then they just stopped moving the ball, stopped scoring again. I think there was another stat, one of those ones that was flashed on the TV, and I never got a chance to go back and check it, but seemed insane. Apparently, the Eagles' average third down to go this season is 8 yards, which is the worst in the NFL. So when they get to third down, this Eagles team, they have the longest to go distance of any team in football this season.
I saw Kurt Warner tweeting about this morning. He said something to the effect of, is the Eagles' offensive identity a pass-first team? And I think that's what he's hinting at. It's like the number of times that Saquon's got nothing going this year for the most part. And the number of times that it's like 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10. And then you wonder why Jalen Hurts, it's like, all right, go ahead, win on the outside, A.J. Brown. Go ahead, win on the outside, Devontae Smith. Part of it is because they're in 3rd and long quite a bit.
All the time, apparently, according to that data point.
And for a team that, should, like last year, it's interesting because last year, Saquon's MO is not 4 yards here, 5 yards there. Like it's a lot of -2s and 1s and 2s and then 60. Like that's always been Saquon, but you don't have the 60. So it's like that part's different from last year. Like you can deal with a whole bunch of 1s and 2s in the run game if you have 8 60s as well. So every other week you're dropping a 60-yard touchdown like Jahmyr Gibbs. But you don't have that from Saquon. So then it feels like you're just an off-schedule offense that doesn't have the explosives on the other end.
And the crazy thing is, they got this, like they tied this game with almost 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter. I mean, they got this done early in terms of getting back on level pegging. Then the Eagles finally started to move it again, and Saquon Barkley fumbles after the check down. Sam Williams chasing him down from behind, the first fumble that Saquon Barkley has all season. And then you get that punt return fumble as well. Just an absolute calamity from the Eagles' point of view. Their defense holds, and then they fumble the punt return. That one deserves a huge amount of credit to Elijah Clark, rookie gunner who got his helmet on the ball in the tackle. And one of the reasons, I mean, that's an impressive play by itself, but they also have the replay of him as the gunner getting absolutely pancaked by Sidney Brown, I think is the guy blocking him, but gets like tossed to the ground twice, still gets up, battles his way all the way down the field, tracks the returner, and then is part of making the tackle that pops the ball loose. So amazing hustle play by him. Disastrous play by the punt returner. And you're like, okay, should have been a tied game, and then you cough the ball up twice and turn it over effectively. Can't do that.
Eagles offense in the second half. Really, I mean, here's the drive chart for the Eagles. It's actually hilarious. Touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. Good start.
Yeah.
Punt, end of half, nothing. Second half, punt, punt, punt.
Yeah.
Missed field goal, fumble, punt.
Yeah. So they after going up 21-0, the chart is punt, 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 missed field goal, fumble, punt.
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's like it's not the only offense that disappears. We talked about the Colts. Entire fourth quarter and overtime, running 12 plays because they had 4.
But the Eagles does it every week.
But the Eagles have done this almost every week. And like I said, it's not always in order, right? It's like the Rams game, they started hot and then let the Rams back into it way back in week 3 or whatever it was. In other games, they start slow and then they turn it on in the second half. Was it the Vikings game? They did most of their damage in the second half. So there was one game earlier this year. Remember, was it what game earlier this year they had? Oh, they won a game with -12 passing yards in the second half.
Right. Having either the week before or like very close proximity done the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Like the first half they had nothing, and then the second half was all.
I don't know what you do. Just like I don't know what to do with an offense where it's like I can't pinpoint what's wrong. It's just that there's one thing wrong on every play. Right? It's either just the pass blocking or there's a great throw and it's a drop or there's a wide open receiver and there's a miss. It's tough to pinpoint what's wrong with an offense when one thing goes wrong on every play, seemingly. It's tough to pinpoint where half the game the Eagles offense looks dominant and the other half they don't. And it's just not there. And it's, I don't know. And I go back to like the discussion last week when A.J. Brown is acting frustrated. I think it's the same thing. Like they're all sitting there saying like, why is our offense of extremely talented players that just won a Super Bowl and has most of these same players back, why are we not good? Why are we not better? Why are we not consistent? Why are we not the key to winning? Why are we relying on our defense to win these games? To me, that's the question A.J. Brown was asking. And then it's hilarious that they came out and it was like, all right, feed A.J. Brown. Watch this. Good luck covering him. And Dallas couldn't early on. And they couldn't stop the Eagles until they could.
I know you're focused on all these kick, no-kick decisions to go up 6 or 3. But this game had one that I thought was fascinating, where after that fumble on the punt return, obviously Dallas is set up an insane position. They get the ball at the Philadelphia 8-yard line. The first play is a Javonte Williams run for 6 yards. So now you're at the 2, second and goal from the 2. Don't really get anywhere with the next play. Don't really get anywhere with the next play. Fourth and goal from the 1-yard line. But it's a tie game.
Right.
And they decide to go for it instead of taking the lead of the football game with a chip shot field goal. I thought that was a curious decision.
Yeah, so they go incomplete on 4th and 1. So they give...
And that's...
Philly's
that was the Jake Ferguson one.
Yeah. I don't understand what happens in the box score here. It says 4th and 1 from the 1, and then it's incomplete, and then the Eagles start their drive from the 2, according to the stats. For those who say that yards are not subjective, apparently they are. I feel like, didn't the team do that recently too? They had a chance for like the 22-yard field goal, and they passed it up to go for it in a tie game.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason why you do it is because you make a stop and you make them punt from the 24, which, by the way, was punted 76 yards for a touchback.
Which they then had to redo, right?
And then they redid. They thought it hit the scoreboard,
right? But it was a penalty,
and then it was a penalty, and that affected field position quite a bit on that one. Oh no, there's the invalid fair catch by Turpin. Oh, this game was just an absolute mess with what was happening.
But like whatever about what the analytics say in terms of going for it or not to go up 3 versus 6. Surely the data is telling you to take the lead of the football game.
I don't know. I don't hate it, man. Like so the options are 4th and 1, you score a touchdown.
Yeah.
But it's if you don't get it, it's the field position part. And I bet the analytics are still saying if the opposing team starts a drive, here's what they're saying. If it starts at the 1, the next drive, you're more likely to get the next 3. The next field goal attempt is usually more likely to occur with the defensive team than the offensive team. So that's where I think the decisions. So when people say the analytics, they're taking in the value of scoring a touchdown on 4th and 1 and going up 7, not 6, go up 7 probably. And then if you don't get it, most of the time the defensive team that just failed on 4th and 1 is the more likely team to get 3. And that's what happened in this game, right? Because the Cowboys ended up stopping the Eagles, and then the Cowboys were the next team to get the 3. So in this case, it worked, and I'm not defending it based off whether it worked or not. I'm just explaining that's the reasoning why in a tie game, they're still going for it on 4th and 1.
Yeah, I mean, it worked theoretically. On the other hand, you effectively ended up with you had a complete chip shot field goal that you turned down to go for it on 4th down. You ended up having to kick a 42-yard field goal, and it only ended up being a 42-yard field goal because of a 20-something yard pass. But right before that, it looked like it was going to be a Hail Mary shot from 60-something for Brandon Aubrey. It's like you turn down the literally can't miss chip shot right in front of the goal, only to later have your shot from 60-something. It's like, it feels like, I'm all for playing with the margins of analytics and stuff, but I think there's still value to simply taking the lead. When it's
I get it.
When it's a tie football game, let's just bank being ahead. Because anything can happen from that point.
And you could say against an Eagles offense that has gone cold, and they're in the middle of their cold streak, if you want to factor that in.
And also, there's basically zero chance of missing it from then. So you are kicking off to them at that point. You are theoretically starting them, relatively short up. Like you're not at risk of, if we miss this, they're taking the ball from, the 40-yard line and they can score quickly. Like you're going to score, you're going to kick the ball off to them, and they're going to start their drive deep in their territory.
Once again, very impressed with Dak Prescott outside of the red zone interception, bad decision, bad play. bounced back, made some big throws. George Pickens had that other catch to set them up for that game-winning field goal. George Pickens, unreal the season that he's having right now. And I think the Cowboys pass game is able to offset a lot of the previous defensive issues, and now this defense maybe playing a little bit better, and now they're in the middle of the stretch. Chiefs on Thanksgiving, and then the Lions the following Thursday. So they get the win in that first of the trio of difficult games that we mentioned coming up here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, 2 more. We'll go through these quick. Falcons 24-10 over the Saints. Kirk Cousins gets the win for the Falcons. They move to 4-7. Saints fall to 2-9. Falcons got Divine Diablo back, playing with a club on his hand. Huge fan of the club.
Yeah,
and
good aesthetic.
I got to look up the Witwood out splits. Divine Diablo.
I think they're pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, 3 weeks into the season, I feel like I was mentioning his name every week.
Crazy to the point where I can't possibly believe that that's real.
But he's playing great. Like when he's out there, you feel the energy and the he's a hybrid. All the hybrid linebacker safety types and the hybrid linebacker edge types. Even like James Pierce, they moved him around yesterday to create one of his sacks. It does feel like the defense is better. And look, it's Tyler Shuck, and early in his career, and it's a Saints team, but it did feel like the Falcons got a little bit of a bump on the defensive side of the ball with Diablo back.
Yeah, definitely. No, I mean, it made a big impact. They were helped out. Like they were set up in good field position right at the start of the game. There was some kind of botched exchange, and Atlanta gets a turnover. Instant good field position. So the defense got set up a little bit, but yeah, they looked. This was one of their good games where they're causing all kinds of chaos.
And Kirk Cousins made some really nice throws in this. He had a bomb to Darnell Mooney, put it right on him. Hit David Sills for a touchdown. That wasn't the arm strength throw, but David Sills with a touchdown here. As we said, and as the chat says, a David Sills mention in 2025. Committed to Lane Kiffin at quarterback as a middle schooler in like 2010.
Him
David
still
Sills.
Being in the NFL is fascinating.
Yeah, so he has a touchdown. Cousins made some nice throws. Had a deep comeback in there, so I think he did a nice job overcoming the arm issues.
Yeah.
A couple nice runs.
I meant to look up, how far did the shot to Mooney travel?
It was a 40-something yard touchdown, so for normal drop back, so 50 yards in the air probably. 45 yards in the air. It was a 49-yarder. I don't know, I'm just guessing off memory right now.
Yeah.
But it was nice. It was deep post, hit him in stride.
Basically almost exactly 50 yards in the air.
There you go. Yeah, it was fine. Like when we talk about arm strength, I'm not worried about an NFL quarterback reaching 50 yards. Like Kellen Moore maybe, but even he could do that.
Wow.
It's more the zip. It's more the zip.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's not that
we already saw against Kellen Moore too.
We already saw last year though as well that despite Kirk Cousins' limitations, he's able to go out there and have a 500-yard passing game.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's not to say that Kirk Cousins is completely non-functional with the noodle arm that he's got. It's to say that noodle arm is a factor whenever he plays football, and the only question is, can he overcome it or not in the game? And he did in this game, despite being down receivers and having to work with David Sills and stuff. Like, yeah, good game by Cousins.
Saints fumbled an early handoff for a turnover. I think that put them in a hole. Then they got back into it for a minute. The tip pass off of Kyle Pitt's hands right to Justin Reed. Nice return for a pick six. That gave the Saints life, but their offense didn't score.
Yeah.
So the pick six gave them some life, but they kept getting stopped. Taysom Hill came in 10 carries for 17 yards. They were using him in short yardage a lot.
Yeah.
To no avail. Falcons made a lot of good plays defensively on the goal line against the Saints offense.
Yeah, the Taysom Hill package feels like it's kind of run its course a bit. Particularly, you need to have a threat off the back of it because otherwise you're just literally signaling, hey, it's short yardage run with Taysom Hill. Now they did take a shot off the back of it, I think, but
it was well covered.
Yeah.
By Atlanta. The other thing too, Tyler Shuck sacked 5 times in this game, and it's another one from Atlanta. James Pierce had 2. One around right tackle, one where he beats Cesar Ruiz at right guard, so they're moving Pierce around. Jalen Walker had one of his classic, what did I love about him coming out, his ability to just compress passing rush lanes. Shuck tried to escape, and Jalen Walker peeled off of his block to finish the play. Diablo flying around, making plays. Again, it felt like the Atlanta defense had some energy back with Diablo and did a nice job getting after Shuck.
Mm-hmm.
Told you it'd be quick.
And that's all for that game.
Look, Zach hasn't had the best year. maybe, as offensive coordinator. But he dialed up, drew up a Cousins to David Sills touchdown.
He did.
So maybe credit for that, at least. Let's go Sunday Night Football. That might not even get its own VOD. Los Angeles Rams dominate the Bucs, 34-7. Scoreboard doesn't even do this one justice. Rams moving to 9-2, full control of the number 1 seed in the NFC. Bucs fall to 6-5, and with the Carolina Panthers also at 6-5, we have a virtual tie atop the NFC South, at least for a few more hours until the Panthers play tonight and either take control of the South or fall back into second place at 6-6. But the Bucs fall to 6-5 here, and Rams really dominated this one all the way through. Baker Mayfield injured in the first half, did not play in the second half, giving way to high school football coach Teddy Bridgewater, who came in to play the second half.
And that's by far the biggest concern coming out of this is Baker's shoulder looks like it was in trouble. And it's the same shoulder that he had injured previously.
The left shoulder, the non-throwing shoulder.
Right, but bad enough that he can't play football. So
I get it.
It's kind of irrelevant which shoulder it is. It's keeping him it was weird because early in the game, it was the touchdown to Tez Johnson, right? Like he threw the touchdown and maybe somebody grazed his shoulder, but looked like nothing. But he came out of that and was clutching it, holding his shoulder as in, oh, no, this is in bad shape. Can't really move it. Went straight to the blue tent. And then it was just before halftime, he goes for that Hail Mary, isn't touched, and like doubles over in pain, and he's like done. So, I mean, that doesn't feel like an injury that's in good shape, and don't worry, he'll be back for next week. That feels like something fairly serious is wrong with the shoulder, and who knows what that'll do. And, once he went out of the game, he came back and immediately is in like street clothes on the sideline in a sling. I mean, these are all bad things for your quarterback.
Yeah, we'll touch on how we got there, but at the end of the half, the couple interesting things that happened here. So the Rams were up 28-7, and the Bucs go for it on 4th and 2 on their own 28. Once again, these are just decisions that were never made in the NFL, even just 5 years ago. 4th and 2 on your own 28. You're already down 28-7. And even Todd Bowles, who's been on the more conservative end of fourth down decisions through the years, is like, I got to go for it. We've got no shot. We're getting overwhelmed here. We got to try to get points before the half. So they get stopped on 4th and 2 on their own 28. They actually force a 3-and-out from the Rams, which 3-and-out means field goal, to go down 31-7. So I don't hate the aggressiveness from Todd Bowles there, but it just kind of showed they're trying to do anything to get back into this game that the Rams had been dominating. But my question at the end of the half, I'm not saying this is where Baker got hurt, but the Hail Mary was from their own 37. So you're going to try a 63-yard Hail Mary. So it's like, hey, Baker, just throw the ball 70 yards really quick so maybe we could get some points before the half while we're down 31-7. He puts everything into it, kind of trips a little bit, throws a duck and throws a pick at the end of the half, and then comes up hurt. It just didn't feel like the best decision to try a 70-yard Hail Mary on 4th and 24 with 5 seconds left in a 31-7 game with Baker Mayfield already hurt. I don't think that re-injured him or anything, but that was his last play.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem taking the shot if Baker Mayfield's shoulder isn't already trying to fall out of its socket.
He's got to make a 70-yard throw. That's not going to happen.
Baker Mayfield is one of the few quarterbacks in the NFL that's probably got that throw in him. He has one
against
of the
a Rams pass rush where he's got to create a ton of space.
But he did all of that. He got free. He got he was open.
And then he came up hurt again. Just take a knee and go home.
Those are two completely separate things.
Throw the ball away with 5 seconds left.
Those are two completely separate things. Is Baker Mayfield injured? Yes or no? And if he is not injured, then let him take a shot to throw what would have been. I mean, he threw that ball from like the 31 or 32. So it's got to get 69, 68 yards in the air, which Baker Mayfield can probably do if he's healthy and his arm isn't trying to fall out of its own socket. The problem is that he's so hurt that just putting his life force into that throw was just like no mas. His body tapped out and he's done.
Yeah,
but so that's totally separate. That's not a problem with the play call. That's your quarterback is broken.
It is. A Hail Mary from your own 37 is you're probably not getting that ball into the end zone.
Sure, but that's the case of any Hail Mary. It's
right,
probably
which
just
is why
not
most people don't try it from the 37.
There's nothing wrong with
in
the
a
play.
31-7 game with an injured quarterback. Anyway, how did we get here? Stafford to Devontae, unbelievable cheat code that Devontae Adams is on the goal line. Whether it's a fade or a slant, you have no idea what it's going to be. This one was a fade. He's so good. So Stafford to Devontae touchdown, and then Kobe Durant pick 6. What happened on the pick 6, Sam?
Kate Otten was throwing the football, bobbled it several times, and by the time he got it under control, he was going to the ground, got it under control. Kobe Durant just took it away from him and went in and scored. And they reviewed it and decided that he hadn't made a move common to the game, and so the fact that he was down by contact doesn't count, even though you saw it. And even though you knew that was the case.
It's a weird.
And even though Chris is like, isn't that down by contact? No. I know you think it is. And the video we're watching shows that it is. But he didn't make a move coming to the game. So it's turnover.
It's a move coming to the game. So, Otten's kind of got the ball in his hands with his knee on the ground.
Yeah.
And Durant's
now,
just ripping it out. He never had possession before that.
Yeah, he does, though. It's still Otten's fault in that if you didn't bobble the ball 7 times, you just caught it, it's not a problem. But he quite clearly gets hold of the football before he hits the ground, and then his knee goes down. And in any other walk of the game, that's down by contact. But not when it comes to the NFL's weekly game of what's a catch? Spin the Wheel of Fortune. Well, you spin the Wheel of Fortune, and he didn't make a move common to the game, so it's not a catch.
Good fortune for the Rams, at least.
Yay.
Early in the season, remember Baker Mayfield? He had that game against Atlanta. I was like, dude, he just threw the ball to the defense 4 times and has no interceptions. Early in the season, he had a great touchdown to interception ratio. Baker in this one, though, that it was all on Otten on that pick 6, and then the Hail Mary for the 2 picks for Baker. So balancing out just a little bit. But, man, the Rams were so dominant, both sides of the ball. 5 sacks. They have 5 sacks total? Is that what we have? Yeah. 4 sacks officially. Getting pressure on Baker Mayfield. They couldn't get anything going with the pass game. And then, Stafford in this passing attack. Another touchdown to Devontae Adams. Hit Colby Parkinson later on. Just feeling it again. Matthew Stafford, 25 of 35 for 273. 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. There was a point well into the game where they were up early. They were dominating this game for a while. And they had something like 30-plus dropbacks and only 8 runs called. Like, there was no point where the Rams were like, let's run the ball. It was a full-on, we're attacking through the air. We don't even want to try running against Vita Vea and the Bucs. Good luck covering us. Go get them. And the Rams really took it to the Bucs.
Yeah, I mean, their passing attack was just pitch and catch. I mean, there was a play where Zion McCollum just absolutely roasted off the line, and Stafford just, like, rainbow touch pass just right into Devontae Adams' hands, like, too easy. There was another one later. They almost got him again. It was more of a back shoulder play, and he just about broke it up. But, like, they were just picking on him. It was pretty brutal. Their passing offense was just too good. The Bucs had nothing for it. And it's like, we've said before, Todd Bowles has this blitz scheme, and it's creative enough that, like, young quarterbacks struggle with it really badly. But it does feel like a guy like Stafford is, like, he has the answers. You might be able to show some young quarterbacks stuff that they've never seen before. You're probably not showing Stafford stuff he's never seen before. So it felt like all the way when they're blitzing, he's just like, all right, I'm just going to pitch and catch on the outside versus Zion McCollum.
And there's that history, too. I mean, the play that always stood out was on the way to the Rams Super Bowl. They played in the divisional round, and it was a tie game late, and Bowles is like, let's go zero blitz. Yeah. In the year where Cooper Kupp was uncoverable, and he just runs behind the defense, and Stafford hits him to get into field goal range. It does feel like in the matchup world, McVay has always had in Stafford has had pretty good understanding of where to go against the Todd Bowles defense.
And then the other side, you've got this Rams defense where the front four is destructive, dynamic. It works in concert together. They're just causing all kinds of problems for an opposing offensive line. And then the back end is in really good shape as well. You've got the 2 Camerons at safety, Curl and Kitchens. You've got Emmanuel Forbes out here with like 3 pass breakups, I think, in the game.
Balling. Emmanuel Forbes.
One of them's on 4th down. Again, later was a 3rd down pass breakup. One of them was against Emeka Ibuka. Like, Emmanuel Forbes is showing individually right now why teams roll the dice on failed first-round picks once they're cast aside from their original team. Forbes is out here balling the last few weeks and looking like a real find for the Rams.
He's been a great pickup for them. They've done a really nice job with that entire secondary with either a retread like Forbes or lower round draft picks. They've done a Kobe Durant, who they just drafted as a athletic upside type of player out of a small school a couple years ago. They've done a really nice job there. And as you mentioned, meshing that with a defensive front that is largely undersized. They've got power and a guy like Jared Verse, but they're largely undersized, just penetrating disruptors up front. They've done a really nice job for the last year plus. Remember, right around this time last year is when the Rams defense started to hit their stride, and they haven't really slowed down. So they've done a nice job on that side. The offense is absolutely cooking, and if they want to run the ball, they can run the ball. If they want to put the ball in Stafford's hands like they did last night, they can do that. They seem to have answers for everything. And so I think everybody came out of that game saying, look, I know the Bucs aren't what they were earlier in the year. They've hit a lull offensively in particular, but this Rams team looks like the best team in the NFL.
Yeah.
Dominant on both sides of the ball.
It does right now, absolutely.
So 34-7, Rams moved to 9-2, sitting atop the NFC. And they're watching Eagles, Bears sitting there at 8-3 this week, getting potentially closer to the number one seed. And the Rams did a nice job coming off the Seahawks win. No letdown, off that division game, and really took it to the Bucs in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, this was an absolute beatdown, both sides of the ball. For the Bucs, you just got to be really hoping that Baker Mayfield injury, number one, isn't really bad, and number two, when he comes back, it doesn't go the same way. I mean, this is basically the same injury that he had with the Browns, where it started off, he got hurt week 2. I think that was the same. He got hurt. That was on
the left shoulder injury was week 2.
That was on an interception,
yes.
Right?
And he goes to make the tackle in week 2 against the Texans, I believe, in 21.
This one, people are speculating, was on a run. So he scrambled the ball, got kind of sandwiched by 2 Rams defenders, seemed to hurt the shoulder then, and then the Tez touchdown kind of aggravated it, and then the Hail Mary really aggravated it.
I feel like he's always playing with fire.
My point being, the last time he had the bad shoulder injury, he tried to play through it, kept back, was strapped up, and just made it worse, and got worse whilst it was being made worse. So I assume the Bucs will be careful with him in terms of he'll be out however long he's out, multiple weeks, I would think, and then he'll come back, he'll be strapped up. But at that point, does he play? Can he come back to being really good Baker Mayfield, or is this inevitably that guy's now gone for the remainder of this season because this isn't going to be healthy until the offseason?
And it's a crazy time right now because I know the Bucs have just lost 3 straight in 4 out of 5, but it's because lost to the Lions, Patriots, Bills, and Rams
right
out of the last 5 weeks. You could almost see this coming as a stretch. That's going to be a challenge for the Bucs. Okay, they didn't survive, but now see what happens tonight with the Panthers. But the Bucs have the Cardinals, Saints, Falcons, Panthers twice, Dolphins. Like, they don't play a team with a winning record yet other than the Panthers, and Panthers might be 6-6 by the end of the day anyway, and that's the team they're battling for the South. So the Bucs still have the division very much in their sights, and the Panthers have a tougher schedule down the stretch here.
Yep.
So we kind of expected to get here, but if Baker's down, golden opportunity for the fighting Dr. Eager Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, they have the kind of schedule where you can give them a few weeks off and hope you can get through with Teddy Bridgewater as your quarterback and still win some games. On the other hand, if Baker Mayfield isn't going to be 100% healthy when he comes back, like, the season's kind of in trouble anyway.
All right, man, we did it. We did have a request. Anything else on that game?
No.
I think we'll wait till the Wednesday show. We don't have a Wednesday show this week.
What we do, it's just a preview.
Wednesday show's preview. Brandon Ayuk split the San Francisco 49ers in that report. What
crazy story.
All of it. For whatever reason, what a weird career for Ayuk. He was like in the doghouse for like early in his career. Then he hits the stretch where it's like, this dude's a top 5 receiver in the NFL. Even in Shanahan's scheme, it's like he's top 5. Shanahan hasn't had this guy since Julio Jones, a one-on-one winner like Ayuk. And then he just disappears.
I mean, we've been talking about how the old generation of diva wide receivers would be disgusted that they're by the new generation, but Brandon Ayuk might actually be in the old generation of diva wide receiver. I mean, he appears to be an absolute head case in terms of just disappeared from the team. It's like, I'm not going to show up anymore. Yeah. And even last time, then they were like, they had the argument over his contract. Apparently that got solved because he just showed up one day and was like, all right, I'll take your offer. Like, they were at an impasse, and they were going to trade him away to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then he just rocked up to Shanahan's offense one day. He was like, okay, I'll take your last offer. But Shanahan had to run upstairs to John Lynch and was like, don't call the Steelers. You're like, don't trade him. He just said yes. Like, it's insane.
So now they're going to get out from under the contract. And, I mean, if Ayuk the player is available, it's just like your general mid-tier quarterback. Like, half the league wants this guy as an upgrade. The other half's like, that's not good enough for us. But think about how many teams would love to have Brandon Ayuk.
Oh, he's an awesome receiver. But
like, imagine adding him as a football player next to, say, Malik Neighbors with the Giants. Like, there's so many teams that have a rookie contract quarterback who would love to have him as their 1A, 1B, or number 2. But what are you going to deal with off the field?
But those guys also, I mean, this is, again, throwing back to the old diva wide receivers. Typically, that works really well for at least a year. You know,
get a year.
Like
if you're in Pittsburgh,
that's what I'm saying.
I mean, Pittsburgh was
who wanted him, and we're willing to pull the trigger.
Could you imagine what would happen there?
Like, if you do need a wide receiver and you're willing to run the risk of, like, this is, I mean, look at when the Texans brought in Stephon Diggs, right, and they reworked his contract to be like, this is 1 year and 1 year only, and then you're out of here, right? Now, okay, you got hurt, it didn't work out, but that type of deal, right? Let's bring him in with the understanding that this will blow up in a year. But for 1 year, we'll have one of the most dynamic receivers in the NFL.
Get Rodgers back in Pittsburgh with Ayuk and DK. Tomlin will set him straight for a year. See what happens. Anyway, so we did have a request. It's from Mohal. And Mohal, any request that Mohal has, we have to consider. He suggested, even though Wednesday is our preview show, maybe some Shouty Show segments just because of Shedeur Week. Like, there'll be some gold. Maybe that'll be part of the Browns preview.
Just to make the show really tight.
We might need to combine 2 shows into one. Plus, we have to predict the Turkey Bowl, North Reading, Linfield, as we do.
Of course.
Every single year. All right. It was a monster Monday for us. Did we miss anything? Great show. Appreciate it. This is my favorite show of the year. A lot of energy.
This show is becoming absurdly long.
It's not too much. There's a lot to talk about on a Monday. Appreciate everybody for being here. Reminder, Wednesday is just the preview show. So there's no main Wednesday show. We'll preview all the action for Thanksgiving beyond. That's it. Now we're done. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again Wednesday. More Check the Mic. Enjoy Monday Night Football.